Okay, it looks like this hangout is live. We are waiting for Ian to join us, and it looks like we're having trouble getting our guest, Son of Perdition, in here. He keeps getting a message every. Hang on, let me mute that there. Sorry. Every time we send him the link, he gets a message saying that there's no such meeting. So I don't know if Son of Perdition is going to make it tonight, which would be a real bummer. But I want to say hello to everybody. Welcome once again. It's Friday. It's August 4th right now. And 2 days ago was a pretty sad day for our little alternative research community or truth community or whatever you want to call it. We lost what I consider to be a good man. Jim Mars passed away a couple of days ago. He was a real eye-opener, a true researcher, and I believe a good man. So whatever you guys think of Jim Mars, I really don't care. A lot of people left some great comments on my channel. I put up a little bit of a memorial the other day, and of course our resident troll showed up with a few sock puppets and talked some smack. So I know that there's always somebody out there, no matter who you're talking about, that's going to call shill on anybody trying to tell the truth. So just want to say peace be with you, Jim Mars. You are lost but not forgotten. So it looks like, you guys, it looks like YouTube is officially dead these days. You know, the adpocalypse that we all went through the other day was not the other day, you know, a couple of weeks ago when they started demonetizing channels was pretty much just the beginning of what is happening now and what has yet to come. That man, oh man, obviously they don't want the truth out. That's quite obvious. No surprise there. But you know, we are using their platform. They can do with us whatever they want. You know, they delete channels. They unsubscribe people from channels. I remember having to subscribe to Johnny Supertramp more than once. I remember having to subscribe to Truth Virus 3 or 4 times. I've had people tell me that they've been unsubscribed from my channel. Then they, you know, a little while ago they started up the YouTube Heroes program, and we've talked about this before. Where I personally believe that the YouTube Heroes program was specifically designed to facilitate the online persona management, which is basically government trolls and also corporate trolls, private interest trolls. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a video while we're waiting for Son of Perdition to try to work out some of his technical issues. I would like to play a video here.
Hopefully he can.
Yes, hopefully we can. Oh, and by the way, hello, Miss Amy. I'm so sorry. I didn't even say hello.
No, that's all right, Aaron. I'll survive it.
How rude of me. Okay,
I know.
I
know. There's no excuse for you.
No, I know. I'm a horrible, horrible host. Bad host. Bad host. Wait a minute. I should be sharing. What happened? There we go. Okay, so I am going to play this video from the Truth Factory, who I am new to this channel, but I think this chick is kind of awesome. And I like her sense of humor, and she doesn't mind dropping the F-bomb every now and then. She talks like a real person. So you guys get a load of this, and we'll be back in a few minutes while we wait for Son of Perdition to try to work out some technical issues. And then we'll get on with what we're going to be talking about.
This is CNN, the Cat News Network, and we actually have 2 ends, unlike another station that has a C and an M with a tail.
Welcome back to the Truth Factory. You probably already heard by now that YouTube has teamed up with some speech police like the ADL, whose main goal is to delegitimize anyone who disagrees with Zionism. That's right on their website. So not only are they biased, their bar for hate speech is actually Pepe the Frog. They've also teamed up with No Hate Speech Movement, super creative name, which as far as I can tell is a government surveillance program run by Angela Merkel's regime. Great. They say that this is to prevent radical extremists and terrorist recruitment, which is a good cover because absolutely anyone can agree that true hate crimes like beheadings or incitement of real terrorism should be vetted. But that is not what this is really about. It's really because YouTube has become the forefront for alternative news and opinions that you just don't see on mainstream media. They don't give a shit about us. They don't care. All they care about is paying their shareholders through advertising, and those advertisers don't want to put ads on videos that don't promote the same agenda that CNN does. They don't like the right because we're dominating YouTube, we're telling the truth, and we're red-pilling the masses. It's the same reason why David Rock's company Share Blue, funded by George Soros, pays people to try to delegitimize right-wing opinions. Now, the first thing on their globalist agenda was Adpocalypse, where videos with certain opinions make less money than others. This is why a video of mine criticizing CNN has earned me $2 whole, while this video with the words "Dear" and "Please" and Hillary Clinton has earned me $60 with half the views, which means that the bot algorithm pays out 60 times more for liberal opinions than for right-wing opinions. Ironically, it's a video about her harvesting organs, but oh well.
What difference at this point does it make?
Adpocalypse didn't stop creators, as many of us just moved to Patreon, where we rely on our generous audience to keep us going. And that works because people are willing to pay to hear the truth. But unfortunately, all of this is within the legal right of YouTube to do this, as it is a private business. And when you sign up with YouTube, you sign a contract with them, which you agree to follow a certain set of rules. If you break these rules, they have the power and the right to shut your platform down. The issue is that they've hired companies to police speech, even when you are not breaking the rules that you agree to. But instead of deleting your videos, which they can't because you're not breaking any of the rules, they just suppress it by not letting people comment on it, like it, or have it show up in the queue. An analogy for what YouTube is doing right now is like them owning a pen store where everyone is welcome, but if you have opinions that they don't like, they'll sell you a pen. You just can't have any ink. And if you don't like that, you don't have to write at all. But YouTube is by far the largest online content creation platform. This gives them a form of monopoly when it comes to this type of creation. So by limiting certain forms of speech on this platform and only promoting very specific opinions, they are in effect blocking people from spreading influence, which is exactly what they want. Although technically YouTube does have the right to do this, they shouldn't, because not only does it limit valid content, it also makes YouTube a political company supporting specific political opinions while hurting others. But this shouldn't be surprising, as this is the way the world and media is going. These prejudice articles are apparently appropriate to publish because they are targeting white people and men, which I guess don't matter. But that's freedom of press, right? Now let's reverse those titles. This is the other side of the coin. But if we said those things, we get called a sexist, racist bigot. So why is this okay and this isn't?
You're fucking a white male! You're a white man!
Jordan B. Peterson, a professor from Canada who stood up against Bill C-16, which says that not calling transgenders by their preferred pronouns is legal harassment. Well, he was temporarily locked out of his Google and YouTube accounts already until enough people made a fuss about it. And Jordan Peterson is pretty tame compared to my content, but he is massively influential and he is a free thinker. And the globalist agenda has no room for free thoughts, only for slaves. And I'm not even pissed off. I'm just sad that we all live in a clown world now. So now bots will be scrubbing videos for opinions it doesn't like and suppressing it. And in response to these new policies, I've invited Confederate Cat back by popular demand to spew a whole bunch of offensive opinions. Don't worry, I've censored out any words that might trigger a bot. Please enjoy.
Hello, America. It's me, Confederate Cat. And after much complaining and whining, I finally got my own segment on this show. Welcome to Trigger Warning. You have been warned. If you're not into being told things that you don't want to hear, you can just turn this YouTube video off. That's how it works. There's two sides to free speech, friend. One is getting to say what you want to say. The other is listening up. Now, before we begin, I'd like to thank the sponsors of this segment. This segment is sponsored in part by Pabst Blue Ribbon, the conservative beer of choice.
and in part by Whiskas Perfect Portions, the only cat food worth meowing for. Now, I'd like to talk to you first of all about the agenda. That's been what's on my mind lately, and it is a serious, serious problem. It's been going on for thousands of years. The agenda, first of all, they want to get their in our balls, which I am against personally because I am a good Christian cat, and that is a sin. I know a sin when I see one, and it is not in the Bible that they should be allowed to put their in my bowl. And they can put their in my bowl when they take it from my cold, dead hands. What they're trying to do, what they've been working on for the last couple hundred years, is legitimizing more and more perversions. They're legitimizing the perversion of sexuality and not beating your wife. And they're working on making philia normalized. So that way they can say that they've been oppressed. The bankers who are pulling the strings behind the scenes can say, oh, we've had catamite dungeons for all this time. We were oppressed. Now it's normalized, and now we can kill all your kids, and it's fine. As soon as everyone's normalized with they're going to say, oh, it's wrong to not be. And then they're going to say, oh, well, what about files? Oh, let's just be nice to them. They just think a little bit differently, and the kids will be saying, yeah, I had 12, so it's okay for me to date a man who's like 47 and let's normalize that, and then it's a catamite dungeon for your kids. And if you have a problem with that, you're going to prison, and the bankers are your kids in assholes, and the kids will be competing on talk shows and like reality shows for who gets to be George Soros's catamite dungeon catamite boy, takes it in the who gets to be owned by the banksters and be in their dungeon. It'll be a contest, and everyone will be clapping for them. Oh boy, they're going to get live TV, and that is a sin. Yeah, you've been warned in the title of the show. This is called Trigger Warning. And it's going to do the same thing for us when that happens, that what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah, God's going to say, nope, that's an inch too far. I'm going to smite y'all. That's what happened in Rome. That's what made Rome fall. As soon as they started having their catamite dungeons and got their tendrils in around the emperor's penis, the whole thing fell. That's what made Rome fall. That's what made ancient Greece fall. They were too for God. See, this is what I'm talking about, folks. This is what the Bush media is getting to with our kids. It's warping their brains, making them live together. Your grandchildren are going to come home, a robot, half monkey person, say, look at my girlfriend / boyfriend, we're getting married. And if you have a problem with that, they'll just say, oh, you're old and conservative. You're from a different time. But that's what it's going to come to. Then your great-grandchildren are going to be catamites. And they'll say, grandpa / grandma, you don't understand. You'll be like, I'm your grandpa. You call me by my proper name. They'll be like, no, grandma / grandpa. I call you what the media says to call you because they're banksters. You want to be a man and dress like a woman? That's fine. But if someone calls you a face, you should expect that because they have freedom of speech too. They have the freedom to identify you how they want to, and you live in a free society, which is a double-edged sword. You can identify yourself and others as you please, but they're going to call you butt and be mean to you, no matter who you are. Everyone gets treated like an asshole because everyone acts like an asshole, but you have the right to be an asshole. And the alternatives of police state hypocrisy, and frankly, this is by far the better choice because being an asshole is hilarious. You just have to have a sense of humor about it when it's your turn. And if you read the comments below, you're going to see my turn come around. You can participate and make fun of me. I don't rightly care. I'm going to have a good laugh about it because I'll be drunk on Pabst Blue Ribbon, the conservative beer of choice, and snacking on my Whiskas Perfect Portion, the most delicious cat food ever made. Whiskas, the only cat food worth meowing for. Confederate cat out. Meow. 9/11 was an outside job. Didn't you see those planes? The planes did not come from inside the buildings. They came from outside the buildings.
Okay, so there's that.
That was an awesome bit. Well, SOP says he's going to keep trying.
Okay.
And
well, I don't know what to tell him.
yeah, I don't either. I mean,
now, we have had people in here on their, using their cell phones before. Gandalf, Blue Blood. Hey guys, just say hello to my peeps. Chirpy Chimes is in here. Hey Chirpy, you want to come hang out with us? We got some space open. We're having trouble to get Son of Perdition in here.
Big troubles.
Oh, Chirpy's going back on Bartley. What? Final chat right now? Only one warning? I don't get it.
Have him come on in.
Oh, you know, he left me a comment earlier, asking if Son of Perdition is still advocating for, you know, people to protest in the streets in mass. And Chirpy, I apparently he asked if, you know, said if he was, I'd like to come in and into the chat and talk to him about it. And he's saying here, obviously in the chat box, pardon me for just catching up here, I was doing a screen share. Anyone who advises truthers to gather in mass and riot in the streets. I didn't know. I didn't know that he had called for riots. So
Yeah, I didn't know that that was true.
Or calls for a coup is 100% COINTELPRO shill. SOP has to admit I am right about that soon, or problems will happen.
Well, I agree that the answer is not to rise up. That is what they want us to do.
Well, I absolutely agree with that too. I mean, I don't think protests don't do a damn thing.
No, they don't do anything. I think the best idea is to just withdraw consent and be willing to be subject to any of their crap if they prove we're subject. And yes, they may decide to bully us with guns and all that, and it may wind up becoming a firefight, but they will have to initiate it. You know what I mean?
Well, Amy, you and I both know, and probably most people listening are pretty well aware, that any group will be subverted. There's no such thing as a peaceful protest anymore.
Well, I agree. I would agree with you there. The point I'm trying to make is that this is not a group that if we withdraw consent, we are not a group. We are now free, sovereign individuals.
Sure.
And as long as someone is behaving like a free, sovereign individual and supporting that, then they're good people. And if they aren't, then they're not. And you know, it becomes no longer a group thing. It becomes stigmergic.
Well, I just want to.
Very different.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just want to answer Marie real quick. Ian will be joining us shortly. He is on a job interview, so everybody cross your fingers. It's it's a better job. It's much closer to where he lives, and we're all hoping he gets
absolutely
to switch positions and get this job that he's interviewing for. And the job interview for him was let's see, what was it, Amy? 3:30 his time.
Yeah, 3:30 his time. So that means he'll probably be in within the next half hour. Would be my guess.
He should be here pretty soon.
Depending on, I mean, if it was a super long interview, who knows? But you know, job interviews usually don't go for hours and hours.
No.
Usually.
No, they don't.
So.
Nobody wants to sit, not even the person doing the interview.
No, that's true.
So anyway, yeah, Ian will be joining us shortly. And Zach, no, he's not using Firefox. He's actually on his cell phone right now because he's traveling. Son of Perdition is, we got a message from him saying that he was on his way to Pennsylvania for a meeting. He's involved in some groups that are kind of activist groups, and I wanted to get some details from him on that. So I don't know exactly why he's headed to Pennsylvania, but he did say he was traveling to PA for a meeting. That's what he told us. So,
yep.
As far as I know, he should be able to get in. Like I said, we have had people on their cell phones join us before, but back to what Chirpy Chimes had mentioned and what we were talking about. And even Blue Blood said a moment ago in the chat that all the militias are infiltrated as well. That that's no secret. I mean, the whole truth community is completely littered with infiltrators and liars and charlatans, and just full of sock puppets and fake people and military people and corporate people, government people around the world. It's just a den of vipers and thieves, really.
Yes.
And every single movement that I can think of in the last 150 years has been subverted. And with so many people on the payroll, George Soros's payroll and government payroll and other payrolls, so many paid protesters. I mean, even if we in the truth community, like if we were real quick about it, like let's say right now I called for all truthers to get in the street and protest, right? And everybody, the word spread like wildfire, and within one day, millions of people were in the street, like overnight. It still would take less time than that to be subverted.
Yep.
I mean, one quick phone call, George Soros, one phone call, and all these protesters in every city would show up and start throwing rocks and getting violent and making you look bad.
Yep. That's right. See, that's the advantage to my I don't want to call it a movement, because it's not really a movement. Sorry about that.
It would be if a lot of people began adopting it.
Well, yeah, but it's not really a movement because there's no head to the organization. You see what I'm saying? It's not like we have chosen leaders. We all lead ourselves.
Well, there's always chosen leaders. There's always those people who will rise to the top.
Well,
and there's always those latecomers who don't understand the nuances of what is happening and need to be educated. And so they will listen to certain people who do rise to the top. And so leaders will emerge.
Well, yes, I understand that leaders will emerge. I'm just saying that there's a difference between chosen leaders and emergent leaders. Do you see what I'm saying? Chosen leaders are like, elected officials.
Sure, sanctioned, government sanctioned. I get it. Government promoted, corporate promoted.
Right. It's like one thing I really don't want to be is a leader, but I do want to give people suggestions on how to lead themselves out of this mess. That is my goal. And yeah, there will be stronger individuals who will of leading to an extent, but there's, what is there to lead, saying whenever you encounter somebody who thinks they have an authority over you, saying, I'll be happy to do what you say and be subject to all of that if you prove I'm subject. And I'll give you 15 minutes to prove it, and I'll be on my way if you, if you haven't done that,
Yeah.
I mean, when we're all doing that, or at least most of us, enough of us.
So let me go ahead.
I'm just going to say, what are they going to do? What are they going to do if most of us are just saying, I'll be happy to. I'm not going to create controversy and refuse you, but I'm going to give you my counter deal. I'll be happy to do that if you prove I am subject to it. Because it really comes down to every individual making that choice, taking back their personal power. Stop abdicating it to someone else.
Hey, what's up, Liam? Liam Xmail is in our chat.
Hey, Liam.
Okay, so I want to read something to you. This is from YouTube. says, we'll soon be applying tougher treatment to videos that aren't illegal, but have been flagged by users as potential violations of our policy on hate speech and violent extremism. If we find that these videos don't violate our policies but contain controversial religious or supremacist content, they will be placed on a limited state. The videos will remain on YouTube behind an interstitial, and I honestly don't know what that word means. So basically, it won't be recommended. And I'm continuing reading here. It won't be recommended. It won't be monetized, and won't have key features including comments, suggested videos, and likes. So if you guys haven't heard of this is, you know, one of YouTube's new policies. Hey, looks like he made it. Looks like he made it.
That was hell, man. Getting a hold of Google through email and everything is. Apparently, they still had a lock on some of the abilities of what I can use. It's ridiculous.
Oh, crazy.
Like Google Plus. Yeah, sorry, I'm on the road right now, so if it's hard to hear me, I apologize.
No, it's no problem, dude. I hope you got a good charge on your phone.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think I got about half. So I should be all right for a minute. I'm going to try to find a place to sit.
Okay. We're good, man. How are you? It's nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, pleasure's mine. I appreciate it. So, what have you guys been talking about? What I missed?
We're just starting off on the YouTube policy changes that are you know, they're tiptoeing across the landscape of tyranny, basically.
Yep.
I can't understand why there's not much more of an outcry. I mean, I see a few videos here and there that pop up, but really, for the general, the general public, they don't really seem to care too much.
Well,
no, and most people on YouTube don't give too much of a shit either.
Apparently not.
It's a shame.
I know I did a vid.
Go on.
Go ahead. I just said I did a vid. That's all.
So you can hear us okay?
Yeah. I'm gonna try to find a spot real quick where I can sit and relax for a couple minutes.
Okay.
I was at a truck stop, to try to do the whole hangout thing, and I kept getting denied. All sorts of things were happening, so I was like, well, screw it, jump back on the road. And then it finally worked after I got an email back, and I tried it, and they're like, okay, well, try this, putting in some different type of code and reinstalling. So I did it. Now I don't even know where I am. I pulled off on some side road, so if I get lost out here, I'm blaming you guys.
Okay.
So do you want to provide us a first name, or do you want us to call you SOP or anything in particular?
Yeah, no, I'm Dustin. Okay. With a D.
Hey, Dustin.
All right, awesome. Yep. Awesome. Nice to meet you. And if you didn't know, I'm Aaron, and you obviously have been talking with Amy here on emails.
I'm Amaterasu.
So we're waiting for our other buddy, Ian. He's on a job interview right now. He'll be joining us shortly. And so cool. I'm glad you're able to make it in here. Listen, I want to ask you a couple of questions right off the bat here. First of all, did you say you have a background in marketing and advertising with social psychology?
Yeah. Social psychology was a minor. I wasn't really expecting to go down that route, but I found that it really ties in, probably more so than any other subject, with like understanding people and how they work, and together or solo, how the mind ticks and all that was really, really fundamental. And not so much as advertising, I mean that too, but marketing and how to appeal to people subconsciously or consciously. And I find that that helps out a lot with other things too. It's not just you know, because unfortunately I haven't had a career that works on either of those. But I was thinking, you know, it's more because we got to do something. I mean, our time is pretty limited with, you know, what the information that needs to be brought out, or, you know, the time frame we have to do it in. And obviously, I mean, this has been somewhat effective, but to reach people on a larger scale, I think we're going to have to almost play by their rules and do things the way they do it. Like I was saying something about creating an alternate character, so to speak, and using that, like, so I don't know, we'll create, you know, another YouTube channel and like basically cheerlead the New World Order, but throw in there, like, say guns, for instance. I could pretend that I was, you know, all totally against guns, this and that, but then I make the argument in such a ridiculous fashion and sound like such an idiot that anybody watching it would be like, well, you know, if these are the kind of people that are supporting this, then, you know, maybe I should look at the other.
Good idea.
But yeah, because there's not really too many options that I can really find. I mean, that's something that I'm constantly trying to do, is figure out ways, you know, to reach more people, get as many people to at least question. You know, if they at least question some of the reality that's around them, that might lead them, you know, to find some of their own answers for, you know, the way it is and the reality that we actually live in. But until that's done, until we can stimulate that, I don't know how we're going to get around this. And obviously with this crackdown, time is of the essence.
Well, I persist in saying that we should withdraw consent and not create controversy by refusing to do what they tell us, but to say we'd be happy to be subject to their laws if they prove that we are subject. And of course, once you've withdrawn consent, there is no proof that you are subject.
Right.
And that's where I'm headed with my work. I don't know. I keep putting links in, and I don't know if you've looked at what I've got going in my forum there. But that's the foundation right there. Withdraw consent, but don't create controversy.
Now, how would you expect, like, for the people that really don't know much about anything, how would you get someone like that to even, like, let alone comprehend what they're doing, but to let them know and understand that that's actually for their own benefit? You know, that seems to be one of the main challenges that.
See, that's what I like about you, is that you're very solution oriented, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on. To answer your question, the only thing I can really come up with is to try to bring to someone's attention how they are directly affected by some of the things that we discuss. I mean, you know, you don't just go up to a stranger, like even if you're sitting at the bar and you're having a conversation, right? You don't just say to some stranger, the Boston bombing was completely hoax and it was crisis actors, right? You just don't go there. That's true. That's just way too much of a leap.
Yeah, and you shatter their reality and they get defensive. Yeah, absolutely.
It's way too much of a leap and a stretch for somebody who's not familiar with this stuff. And, you know, then they're like, wait a minute, what? They're crisis actors? Now you got to go give them the whole backstory. And now you know what I mean? You're just rambling on. And then it becomes information overload. And then you look like those people that they call us, right? Crazy tinfoil hat nutters.
Yep.
So my solution, when you're talking to new people who are new to the information, is to find aspects of this conspiracy, this grand world conspiracy, find aspects that affect people directly, like the price of gasoline, the price of your electric bill, the price of your grocery bills, the fact that they lie about the GMOs. You know, if you're talking to somebody about eating healthy or growing a garden, You know, it's like, hey, did you know that the GMO that's fucking bullshit? That you know, you go down to the Whole Foods and you find out that half of their produce comes from fucking China.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you find ways to explain to people how they are directly affected, particularly when it comes to their pocketbook, in my opinion, is the best way is to show them how that the whole oil and gas industry is just ass backwards and corrupt and not what you're told. And that,
Yeah, I definitely think that's a good avenue.
You know, that bleeds into the whole energy industry, including your electric bill, your gas bill. Oh, really? You drive a hybrid? Did you know 70% of the electricity to charge your hybrid comes from coal production, coal burning? You know what I mean? That kind of shit.
Right.
Did you know that they got electric gravitics that can draw energy from the ether cleanly over 60 years ago?
Yeah, I was looking at a lot of Tesla's work. That's something that's fascinated me for a long time. And I can't even imagine the amount of information that they have locked up. But even some of the...
I'm sure it's stunning.
But some of the things that, you can access, you find out, that they've, for a long time, have had access to all sorts of types of technologies that could easily, it's like take probably all of our need for oil and coal completely away. But, then again, those kind of companies wouldn't allow something like that to happen. Like that man, who was he? Water. He had some kind of engine that ran on water by basically splitting the molecule. Yeah.
Yep.
And then they put an end to him.
Then there's that was that Australian guy Myers.
Yeah, Myers.
Yep.
I read a lot about him.
Mm-hmm. So here's a fun fact. Since you brought up Tesla, I have a fun fact that I just learned this week. It's kind of shocking to me to learn. A lot of people may know it. I don't know. But when Nikola Tesla died in 1943, most people, at least in this community, are aware that the government seized his property, his papers, his experiments, all his equipment. But I wonder how many of you guys are aware that when the FBI ordered his equipment and property and papers seized, that they called an MIT professor and handed over all of Tesla's papers to this MIT professor to try to make heads or tails of what he was doing, to see if it could be weaponized or whatever. And here's the really interesting part. The MIT professor's name, John Trump. Donald Trump's uncle was the guy they called to sift through Tesla's papers.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, nor did I.
That's pretty.
Well, that's definitely an interesting topic to go digging into. I'm sure you could find all sorts of things to do with that.
Oh, and in fact, I did.
No doubts.
Tesla is he is said to have invented time travel, or at the very least, in his own journal, he describes when he came into contact with an oscillating magnetic field, that he had like out-of-body experience where he could see present, past, and future all at the same time. Okay, so there's all kinds of people around the interwebs saying that Tesla basically invented time travel. Now, here's where it gets really, really interesting. There's a guy, and I forget his name because I really just learned this shit in the last day or two, and I'm going to go back over it. A guy in the mid to late 1800s. This is literally 150 years ago. He wrote a series of books. One of them was called The Last President, and another one was called Baron Trump's Secret Journey, or Baron Trump's Amazing Journey. And there's even an
That's-
artist there's even a little artist hand drawing of this kid character named Baron Trump, whose father, by the way, was Don, and he lived in a castle, Trump. And I don't know, most people may not know this, but in Las Vegas, there is he's got a casino called Trump Castle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so when you consider that Trump's, and that, look, there's videos on YouTube. People have already put this shit together, man. And it's kind of fringy, but you know, it really makes you scratch your head when you consider that Donald. Oh, and by the way, in a lot of Donald Trump's early interviews, he mentions his uncle several times. He says things like, "My uncle told me about nuclear before nuclear was nuclear," right? Because his uncle was actually a physicist. He was an electrical engineer and a physicist working on high voltage X-ray machines
Wow.
at MIT. So that's why he was the guy that got the call. But the interesting thing is, when you add it all up, so Trump's uncle, he gets to sift through Tesla's papers. Tesla is said to have created time travel. Trump's uncle was already working with very high voltage at the time.
Right.
And then there's this, you know, revelation that of these books that were created 150 years with Donald Trump, Baron Trump, all kind of weird connections, man. So there's,
Wow.
I don't know what to say, man.
That's definitely something that I'm going to be checking out tonight. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think
You know,
I'm going to be hunting.
I guess
No,
that
go
wouldn't
ahead.
really surprise me. I mean, there's so many things like that, you know, where putting the pieces together, you realize, you know, there's a lot. Like they say, you know, truth is stranger than fiction, which is definitely the case. It's like, so what was the name of that book?
You know, I'll go find it here and just give me a moment. I'll go look it up.
Yeah, because I definitely want to get that one. I want to check that out.
I've mentioned this before, but are you familiar at all with electrogravitics?
Not really. I mean, I know of. I just am not. I can't say I'm familiar with it. I have to have a pretty good understanding of something before I would.
Okay, I was just curious whether you had heard of it or not.
Yeah, definitely. And I've done a little looking into it, but I haven't really delved.
Right,
into that.
right.
So,
Just so you know, my dad worked with T. Townsend Brown, and I don't know if you've run into his name, but he was the one who identified the Biefeld-Brown effect, which is the foundation of electrogravitics. And just thought you'd be interested in knowing that I've got some connection. And, you know, my dad would tell me what the experiments were doing at work until it went into black projects. So,
right. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I mean, I would imagine almost all of that work probably has some kind of high clearance on there. Where
at this point, yes, but back in the day, in the late 50s, it wasn't considered secret or anything. There were industry publications that were talking about it and discussing things, and then overnight they just stopped talking about it. Well, I know because that was about the time my dad came home from work and said, "We can't talk about my work anymore because they want it secret for now." And that was in 1959.
Okay, check this out. I found a little short video. I haven't seen it, but I'm going to play it. It's only 2 minutes. So,
yeah, definitely check it out.
all right, check this out here. This is here it is.
So there's something something truly bizarre taking place right now. I just found out about a book that's going around, and it's from the early 19th centuries. The plot in this book is eerily similar to the real-life story of none other than Donald Trump's youngest son, Barron. The forgotten 19th century novel features the marvelous adventures of a boy named Barron Trump. Barron leaves his castle to embark on a journey to Russia in hopes of finding alternate realities. The book, which is entitled Barron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, is a part of a set of books that emerged from the 18th century, which shows many overwhelming correlations to the Trump family. There are many odd references in this book, which makes it particularly strange. The language appears to be somewhat unusual for a 19th century novel, using references such as upheaval after an election, a visit to Russia, and Castle Trump. The multitude of spooky parallels to the Trump family living in present-day America is leading many to believe that the Trump family is capable of some sort of time manipulation or time travel. Some even go as far as saying that the elite are rewriting our history. And what's even more strange about all of this is the sequel to that book is called The Last President, and it shows correlations between Donald Trump and present-day America. So there's some spooky stuff going on for sure, and perhaps this is all just a psyop, or maybe this is real deal. I don't know. All I know is it's truly bizarre, and I wanted to bring it to you guys and let you draw your own conclusions. Let me know what you think about all of this. It's unbelievably similar to present day that it's kind of undeniable. So I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that there's something truly strange going on. Anyways, thanks for watching.
So there you go.
Wow.
And by the way, I want to give credit, but since I used somebody's video, I want to make sure they get credit. So that was Light of Productions channel. But the author of the book was Ingersoll.
Light of Life Production.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. It was Ingersoll Lockwood. What the hell? Oh, okay.
CW.
Yeah, I accidentally hit. I thought I was on full screen. I hit the wrong thing. So yeah, that was the author of that book is Ingersoll Lockwood, and there's a lot of other videos that other people have already dug up all kind of information on this that make many other correlations between the Trump family, Trump's career, his ability to foresee his opponent's moves, how to maneuver, how he very skillfully, almost in a prescient way, maneuvers around his opponents, and the name of the kid, the name of the kid's dog, just on and on. There's just too many. Like the girl said, I don't really believe in coincidences too much.
Right.
Anyway, creepy, weird stuff.
Especially when you get into like that Simpsons episode where it shows him on the escalator, Trump on the escalator, and the sign right next to. I mean, if you haven't seen it, definitely look at it. But there is a picture of Trump on an escalator, and then there's a Simpsons episode that has Trump on the escalator. They are doing the exact same, in both their hands, the exact same signals. And these are years apart. So, for something like that to happen, I mean, you could brush that off as a coincidence as well. But even to the person that's up on, like, in the background, they're holding a sign that's leaning up against, like, the guardrail. This sign is even in the exact same place. So, I mean, whether they could have staged that photograph to copy that, but judging by the amount of the crowd, they would use a lot of resources, and I don't see the value into doing something like that. So it really makes you wonder, because I guess if you had billions of dollars, money would no longer be an object, and we obviously know that power seems to be the #1 asset anyway. So what better way to do that than through, the manipulation of time? And
yeah.
If you had that at your disposal.
Well, nothing surprises me anymore.
Can I break in here with an interesting thing I have discovered?
Yeah, sure. And then I want to get to Chirpy's question because it appears that he's back in the chat. And
good.
And since we've got Son of Perdition with us, and Chirpy is now tuned in again. I want to get to his question. So go ahead,
Okay,
Amy.
just really fast. Okay, you said that book was by Ingersoll Lockwood. That was INGERSOLLOCKWOOD, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In English Ordinal, that comes to 197. 197 is the 45th prime number. Now, who's the 45th
Wow.
president?
Okay.
Think about that. Yeah, okay, that's just wild.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm done.
Okay, it's interesting, but again, you know me, Amy. I don't put too much stock when you. I don't know. I won't go there, but that's interesting. All right. So anyway, Dustin, I got a question from Chirpy Chimes, and he would like to know: are you still advocating? And this is something that I didn't know about you. Are you still advocating that that basically the truth community get out in the street and protest in mass?
Yeah, not necessarily protest. That's just a word. It's a trigger word, to get people to open their eyes a little bit to what's going on. I don't care how or what they do, in a sense, because I mean, protesting really doesn't get you anywhere. And a lot of times you get people, like provocateurs that'll come in and it'll often backfire. What I do, however, suggest is that just the show of numbers alone and people's grievances that they go to, whether it be city council building or a police station or anything, and just let them know, that there is a lot more people that care enough to get off their ass and not just sit in front of a computer, which I'm often guilty of myself. And, show that there is a physical presence as well as just, a thought presence that exists out there as well. Because it's almost as if the people, and it would be hard, I guess, to get that, orchestrated. And I don't really think there needs to be an organization to it necessarily. Just and everybody's got, something they're not happy about, because given the current situation that we're in, it's kind of hard to find something that's on the up and up. And I'm well aware of, how protests could actually, be very counter-effective. But at the same time, I strongly think that more in the physical presence needs to be done. I don't think that, just being online alone is going to. And also, nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. You see, even 100 people out gathered around, it's going to draw people in. And as long as there's some people in that crowd, that know what they're talking about, like we were saying earlier, you can't just, tell people, hey, this is the reality you're living in, like it or not, because, they'll just bury their head in the sand, or they'll get defensive, one or the other. But if they come with, the mindset of being, in a question format, so to speak, anyway, then, what's this all about? Well, then you can start going in and slowly elaborate, on these topics, and maybe open up some more eyes and get a more of the message out there to the people. But yeah, I mean, not necessarily, but definitely a show of, of people, of a presence.
Well, let me ask you a couple of questions real quick, and I want to try to brush past these questions quickly because I got another point I want to make. First,
you broke up on me. I can't hear you, man.
I just want to ask a couple of quick questions, and I want to get past them quickly because I'm trying to make a point. And if you don't want to answer the first one, I understand. But how old are you?
I am 32.
How long have you been awake?
Honestly, kind of. I mean, my whole life, really. I've never really, since the first time I seen the news, is something. I don't know what the topic was, but it just seemed real fake to me. And
okay, so when, all right, a lot of us got that sense. I mean, pretty much everybody in the alternative truth community were like that growing up. We gave our teachers hell, and we didn't trust authority, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, because we're that kind of person.
Yep.
But obviously, most of us never really began officially, heavy-duty research into all these other fields until the internet, came into its being, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
That's key.
Some people were out there reading books and maybe going to occasionally a lecture, but okay. So I assume, based on your level of awareness, that you are aware, and I agree with Chirpy Chimes what he said, and we were talking about this before you came in on the panel. That every movement, every protest is going to be subverted. There's going to be agent provocateurs. They're going to show up at the drop of a hat and throw rocks and get rough and make us look bad.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about that is that's going to happen one way or the other. It's going to be on their terms or our terms being infiltrated. We see, they can call them grassroots all they want. But when you have George Soros forking over billions of dollars and actually supplying the places and meeting grounds for these people to go, they're going to stage something eventually where, the Black Lives Matter campaign, and then they're coming out with this movie Detroit, keep throwing fuel on this fire, and they're going to, one way or the other, get people pissed off enough. They're pissed. They're just going to know what they were told from the mainstream media or whatever movie came out and, things like that. And they're going to come to the point where eventually they're going to amass themselves regardless. And then it'll be, because it will have been started and fed right from the beginning from the ideals that they want. And even though they think, those people down the streets think that they're doing this for a good cause, that has been set right from the start to reach those ends. So that's going to happen regardless. But if that happens, on their end, like say from a Black Lives Matter or, some grassroots type thing that really isn't, that's created by, Soros or the Koch brothers or whoever, then it's, because they're still going to meetings. They're still having, these events or small shows and little protests throughout the world, not just here. Then you got like Antifa, same, pretty much similar to in almost every extent, and that's been building up, and that's going to continue. So eventually it's going to get to the point where they will be filling the streets, and they will already have, they probably have assignments as it is, like this one. Hey, you go throw rocks through the windows, you start that building on fire, like we've seen in Ferguson with that whole strip. So my feeling is, that's why I don't want really a long protest. I wouldn't really be, my way regardless, because those things, as soon as they're out there, it becomes a crowd, and crowd psychology is something completely in itself. But I think the sooner, before that happens, just to get people out there and to, from an actual truth perspective, instead of, waiting for it to happen and then streets, when it's already been started by, whatever grassroots supposed organization is out there. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I'm well aware that, what exactly the protests do, and often more times than not, it's very counterproductive. But at the same time, like I said, it's going to happen now, one way or the other. They want a revolution, they want a civil war, because that'll give them exactly what they need to clamp down on everybody, to officially roll out, and use what's in the NDAA. They don't put those things in there for no reason. We all know that. So it's just a matter of time before to do that.
So you're, I'm sure you're well aware of the Occupy Wall Street protest movement that went on for weeks.
Absolutely.
And I'm pretty sure that you came to the similar conclusions that I and a lot of people came to, and that is that, the people running the world, they don't give a shit if you want to sit and protest and beat on drums. It doesn't stop them from doing what they're doing. And they know full well that most of us have jobs that we have to go home to. Most of us are not going to sit around in bad weather. When the weather gets cold, the protests shut down.
But you know what that protest did that was actually positive? It did wake a lot of people up to actually search into the economy and to look in. A lot of people that I talk to, because I'm always trying to, talk to people and see what wavelength they're on. And prior to that, nobody knew damn near anything about economics or the, you know, the condition our economy was in, or a lot, you know, some of the key players like, um, well, Greenspan, I was gonna say, you know, some of the things he was talking about, but like Fannie Mae and all that, you know, nobody knew barely anything about that, but just people seeing, oh my God, these people, you know, something pissed them all off to the point where they gathered. They had to do some research, which I think is kind of rare these days, and they looked into the matter because it was all over, because they actually received media attention. Now, talking about doesn't have the media attention and probably never will. Even, you know, even to these, like, if we wanted to, if this was successful, if a protest was successful in the sense that people went out there, it's not the fact that we're not leaving until shit changes, because yes, obviously nothing like that, it's not going to matter. They're going to pretty much sit in their, you know, oval table and just laugh it up. All that, the point of it is to draw awareness to the fact that, you know, not only are our rights diminishing by the day, but we won't even have the ability to effectively communicate with one another due to all these censorship policies that are putting in place and things like that. And if you know, put those things on a sign instead of, I mean, some of the signs in Occupy actually had, you know, they were really good, and it's propaganda in a sense at what they put on there and showing people, you know, or directing them which way to go. And, you know, that's what the point of it would be, is to further awaken people that might not, you know, they might not never even cross their mind to look in that direction. Because as it is already, you know, in this corner of YouTube or whatever social media you use, or even, you know, the Google search results, all those things severely limit the ability to be able to be reached from your average person, unless they're very specific about, you know, what they're typing in. But if you had a gathering enough to reach local news, and that's really all that matters, because national news will spin it and, you know, turn it into something that'll benefit them regardless. But if it, you know, a local newspaper or logos, you know, whatever you have that could, you know, be like, okay, these guys were out here for this reason, and there's multiple reasons that people would be out there for, but those, for the most part, that's why I kind of wanted something like that to remain community oriented in that sense, as far as what it is that the people are out there for. I mean, because that alone, there's numerous topics that you could talk about, but it is for the simple fact of raising awareness. That's why I wouldn't want it to be a long one and give the provocateurs, you know, a chance to actually organize and mobilize, but just, you know, like a Saturday night type thing where, you know, a couple hundred people go stand out in front of the police station and don't do a thing for maybe, you know, 5, 6, 7 hours, and just stand their signs or whatever they feel like they need to do other than violence, you know, and that allow enough time for it to be infiltrated, and for like I seen that coming with the Wall Street, you know, what are they going to accomplish by camping out in Times Square? It's ridiculous to me. They could even go on a hunger strike and nothing would happen. They don't give a damn. So now that we are greatly reducing our ability to communicate and actually spread true information, there's not going to be much left. And I see something like this being able to at least get people somewhat aware that there is more to it. You know, even if you point them to a couple websites or some YouTube videos or documentaries, you know, that an average person could see, that might not be, you know, too much for them at first, where they could be like, oh my God, you know, I never seen it. Because I've seen it with my own eyes. I've watched a couple people wake up just from the Sandy Hook video alone, from the whole Sandy Hook thing in general. Quite a few people have. And those are things that, you know, most people are like, oh, one of these people, you know, they don't understand or anything like that. It's true. Why would they're crazy nut jobs? But, you know, given time and easing them into it, especially if they see it on their own, if they see a bunch of people standing out there and the, you know, local newspaper says, hey, you know, these guys are out there protesting, yada yada yada, and some lady somewhere seen, you know, let's talk about Sandy Hook, And she remembered that, typed it in, came across it, and, you know, reached that. You're not going to get a lot of people, but every little bit helps at this point. I mean, to be able to not doing it, because that was a hard decision to come by, of whether, you know, to actually support something like that, because it wasn't my idea. But at first I was like, no, protests are not a good thing. But then, you know, we were discussing it, and they were explaining to me the purpose of it, and I agreed with them. After a while, I was like, yeah, you know what, you got a good point there. If it stays small enough and large enough at the same time, like, you couldn't overdo it, but you want a lot of cities. You know, the more cities, the better. That was one of the points of it, because if you have, you know, just one city, then you get a mass crowding from people around, you know, the suburbs or surrounding areas coming to there to protest or vocalize whatever it is they want to say, and that's when the chaos really gets started, and then there's a lot of problems.
Hey guys.
So at this point, hello Ian, how you doing?
Happy 50th.
Did your interview go well?
It's our golden anniversary today.
Cool.
Conspiracy or not.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is our 50th show, so yeah, we're a bit of a. Did your interview go okay, buddy?
Yeah, it went really well actually.
Awesome.
Won't find out till next week, but yeah, I think it went really well.
Okay, good. We got our fingers
knocked
crossed
it out
for
of
you.
the park, to be honest with you. I think I'm exactly what they're looking for. So welcome, guys. Hi, sorry I'm late. Welcome, Son of Perdition.
Hey, Ian, how you doing?
Good, man.
What job do you?
It's for a contact center sales agent for a hearing company.
Oh.
For hearing aids and stuff. So hopefully I get it. It's a walk to work too. It's like an 8-minute walk from my house.
Oh yeah, can't go wrong there.
Yeah. So I've been watching your videos for some time now, and I think you're doing really good work. Keep it up. Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, while you were talking, we got a comment from Las Valdez, and I know that this is going to resonate with Amy, and I strongly agree with this. He says, I think the only revolution having any chance is an intellectual and a consciousness revolution, an individual non-compliance.
Yes.
Now, I agree with you, Dustin, that, you know, when you got a bunch of people out in the street, you know, like you said, a crowd draws a crowd. I agree that it does sort of, it gets attention, and it at least gets people to think. In many cases, it doesn't get any media coverage, so the only people that are going to get any attention are those who can see it with their own eyeballs in most cases. I mean, we could talk all day about how many protests have happened and gotten zero coverage. And as we've already mentioned, any significant protest is going to get subverted, and then the provocateurs show up, and that's when the media shows up, because then they can make you look like the, you know, rock-throwing, fire-starting anarchists that they try to make us out to be.
Hey, now, don't belittle anarchy. Don't belittle anarchy.
They'll even just put people in there that say
no rules.
Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah.
They'll put people in the crowd that say stupid things too, to discredit the whole damn thing too.
Yeah, I mean, even if it doesn't turn violent, you know, I mean, they.
Well, you know,
or
it's
they
also
dress up in funny outfits, look like clowns. You know what I mean?
Right. It's also from a psychology, you know, perspective. And I've been trying to think of other ways other than a protest to do the same thing. But when people feel like, you know, if they're sitting down in their own comfort of their own house, and they're looking into these things, or, you know, or they're coming onto the right track, it's slowly, you know, starting to be awake. It's a lot different. They don't feel like they have it, maybe like the fire under their ass, so to speak, to really get things going and keep motivated. If I could find an alternative where people would physically go out, because the people that attend, like, you know, these council meetings and board meetings and things like that, you really get a sense, you know, and you meet a lot of people, and a lot of, like, I've met a lot of my contacts through that type of thing, but it's very small based. Something like a protest, which you know, I agree with you 100% on all of that. But those are the only types of things that I could think of where it gathers enough people where you could actually, you know, pass out types of literature and communicate certain things to those people. And then on top of that, which I think is the most important part, give those people a feeling where they not only, you know, when they attend something, this has been shown throughout, you know, different types of psychology, but mainly social psychology, over and over and over in experiments, that once, you know, they've actually physically taken place into something like that, they feel that they are now a warrior, in a sense, so to speak, for that cause. And that alone has an effect on them to greatly pick up their efforts into spreading information, researching things, and, you know, helping reach other people. Outside of protesting, I haven't, and I've been trying to find alternative ways to get people out there so that same type of thing can happen. See, because that's where the powers that be, that's where they're really good at. I mean, it doesn't take, they don't really have to accomplish anything in a sense anyway, but, you know, something that they want. It's not hard at all for them, you know, to put some advertisement on that appeals to the person's ego or whatever, and then they go out and do that, and then they become, you know, they feel like they become a part of whatever it is that they went to. And that same type of thing is a very powerful technique that I think could be utilized in this movement. But how to do it is something that I've been still struggling to find a good answer to. And at the moment, that's really all that we've been able to come up with as far as people being able to participate in something that has that criteria, that has, you know, this certain type of subject matter that, you know, we talk about.
Speaking of subject matter, I just got a community strike when I logged in today on my YouTube channel.
What? What did
I
they
got a
strike you on?
community guideline strike. It was for a video of animals being grinded alive.
Ooh.
And they said it. Then it was exposing these evil operations, and they said it contained too much graphic content. So I appealed it, and I said, well, this video is just showing real life events as opposed to other pornographic and violent videos still viewable on YouTube.
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm going to bet that if you had hovered over the link to appeal, you would have seen it pre-unapproved, pre-rejected.
No, I didn't see that.
How old is that video, Ian?
It was a few years ago. So
Yeah.
they're sifting through stuff that's old and just pulling it out.
Oh, yeah, they are. The algorithms are going backwards through all the old stuff because
for terms,
we've mentioned on the show, I've mentioned that several channels during the purge, when everybody was getting terminated, a lot of people were making videos complaining about how they had 2-year-old Sandy Hook videos that were getting copyright strikes and community strikes that were 2 years old. In fact, SGT did a Sophia Smallstorm interview, and it was 2 years old, and he got a community strike.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Hey, SOP, when you're mentioning about protests, right? I've been involved in March Against Monsanto protests. I've been involved in
I have as well.
Occupy Wall Street. I went down to the one here. We even had one in Canada, believe it or not, for Occupy Wall Street. But the thing that really disheartens me about protests is that for the march, for example, March Against Monsanto, we marched about 20 city blocks, right, around in a loop, right? But we had to get led by the police. We had to be escorted along the streets by the police. Okay, so when I look at it in that sense, it's like we're still being controlled, even though we're out exercising our rights. They're still controlling that, right? And it became very disheartening for me, right? And when other people look at the police escorting us along, they look at it as like some big deal. Like, oh, what are all these cops doing here? And it kind of gives it that. It kind of gives it that we're doing something wrong look, right? Where they have to actually, chaperone us around to make sure we don't.
Right, and I'm
fall
sure
out of
that's
line.
the whole reason they do that.
Right. Well, on the other hand, they do have to control traffic, mind you.
Yeah.
Right?
Did you guys have
Look,
Santo in Canada? Did you guys have to acquire a permit for that one?
Yeah, you have to get a permit and you have to apply for it. Yeah, it takes lots of red tape, lots of work.
See, that's
I wonder what would have happened if everybody that showed up said, we'd be happy to get that permit and all that if you prove we're subject. We don't consent to that system.
No, but then you'd get arrested for, violating those,
But
I mean,
yeah,
it would take,
what, are they going to arrest everybody?
Yeah. Well, they would arrest definitely the ones running it.
Well, what if there's no one running it? What if everybody's just saying, hey, did you hear? Show up here for this protest.
Well, it was on Laura's website. The lady who organized it her name is Laura, and she had it on her Facebook page. That's the way she advertised it.
Hey, how about a new form of protest? How about I propose?
That's what I'm thinking. Is a new form, not a traditional.
Because the old one doesn't work.
Listen, how about I propose a new form of protest similar to the Occupy movement, but rather than, set up tents and camp out and spend the night, how about we create literally a new form of protest where various people show up at different times on a daily basis.
Aaron, can I tell you a story about here in Victoria?
If you got 2 hours to spare in the day, go down and be a body. And you know what I mean? And maybe you can afford to be there between 2 and 6 on a Monday. And when you leave at 6, somebody else, they get off work at 6 and they can go down there between 6 and 8. And you know what I mean? It's just an ongoing, every day, go down there for an hour, scream, and then go back to work, go home and make dinner. And then just go spend a little bit of time. And then every single day, it's got to be, and I hate, pardon me for invoking side thorn, but it's got to be a thorn in their side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's got to be something that really gets under their skin. In the old days, the women of the village would go down to the local precinct or the local castle or wherever, and they would bang their pots and pans, and they'd make so much noise that the elites couldn't get any sleep and they couldn't get any work done. It was a real annoyance.
Right.
Hey, guys, let me tell you a little story of what's happened here in Victoria in the last couple of years. We've had what's called Tent City come and go, okay? And all these people set up tents on the provincial government property because the civil government, the local government, right, the city, their laws don't apply on government land. You see, so they all set up tents and lived there, okay? And they couldn't get rid of them because there's no law that says they can't, you see? So they set up this tent city, and it looked third worldish, mind you.
Okay.
I mean, it was an eyesore, right? And they had lots of garbage that had to be cleaned, and people were doing it, but they went through that, and that was a different form of protest altogether as well. Their hands were tied. They couldn't get rid of these people legally. It took a lot with community votes and everything else to get these people out.
Right, and see what I think, a combination of some of the things you guys were just mentioning. On top of that, it's like I said, one of the whole points is to raise awareness. And there's, I forget exactly what they call it, but basically flooding the whole area with literature and, links of certain websites.
Yeah.
Interesting facts that people might have not. And I mean, if enough people are aware of it and they take the time, go print out a bunch of copies, thousands of copies. And, people will look into those things. They'll check it out. Obviously, some people will just, be like, oh my God, there's no way any of this is true, and won't check into it. But then you have the people that are on the fence, and probably now will remain on the fence due to this crackdown, unless, something like that where they can stumble upon different websites and whatever you have on there. So I think a combination of all that, where people here for this amount of time or people there for that amount of time, along with, a huge amount of information that you could hand out to those people.
Well,
I would say more than the average people really know what's going on. Like the majority of people are pretty much awake, that they realize that there's a lot of corruption. It's all pretty much corporations running the show, right? Most people, but they're just too afraid to go out on a limb, right? They're too afraid to go against the grain. So
they're too afraid to stand out in the crowd.
Yeah, exactly. See, it comes back to that video. Remember we watched that video, Aaron, with the guys dancing. He's in a group of people.
On the hill.
He stands up. He starts dancing.
And he looks like a fool for about 2 minutes, and then somebody goes and dances with him, and then 2 people, and then 5 people, and next thing you know, the whole hill is dancing.
Dancing with him, right? And that's what's needed, right? That's what's needed to fix this. But everybody's too afraid, right? You don't want to risk your job or your family or anything, right?
Well, check this out. There are laws against certain kinds of gatherings, large groups of gatherings, large crowds. And like you were saying, Ian, the protests, you got to go get a fucking permit, right? You got to go ask your slave master, is it okay if I complain about you? And then they say, well, if you give me $20 or $100 or whatever the permit fee is, right?
Yeah.
So how messed up is that? Well, guess what? How about the idea that I put forward a minute ago about a permanent temporary protest? When I mean permanent, I mean every day, ongoing. And when I mean temporary is no one person is there for any more than an hour or 2. Do you know what I mean?
I like the way you're thinking about this. I mean, that actually has potential. The more I think about it,
because then they can't say that you're part of a crowd. You can say, "Look, I just got here 5 minutes ago. I'm only here for a minute."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not part of this crowd. I just wanted to stop, see what's going on, and I happen to agree with what they're saying, and I got to go in a minute. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
I like it.
And then I'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, like 12 to 9 p.m.
I can be there between 3 and 5, and you can be there between 5 and 6, and somebody else can be there between 6 and 8, and it can be an everyday thing. And I'll just stop by for 30 minutes, and I'll beat my pots and pans, and then I'll go back and make dinner.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Hey, I gotta go into this meeting, guys. I gotta get off for now. So it was definitely nice talking with you.
Peace out.
But yeah, hopefully we can do it soon. It was wish I could stay longer because this is definitely an interesting conversation. But thanks for having me on, guys. Definitely appreciate it, and hope you guys have a good night.
Yeah, man, I appreciate.
How long are you guys gonna be on for?
We usually go for 3 hours, so we'll be on.
Windows closer.
You're in the same time zone as we are, so we'll be on for another hour and a half.
All right, well, maybe I'll jump back on in about 35, 45 minutes because I just got to go in here and make an appearance, and then I'll be done.
All right, cool, man. I appreciate you.
All right, I'll see you guys.
So I missed what you guys were talking about at the start of the show. Want to fill me in on?
We were just we started off with the new YouTube protocols, and I do have something here that I want to read. It's on my phone. It just took a snapshot of part of some of their new rules and guidelines. Here we have early intervention and expanding counter-extremism work. Again, this is from YouTube. We've started rolling out features from Jigsaw redirect method to YouTube. When people search for sensitive keywords on YouTube, they will be redirected. Now get this, guys. When people search for sensitive keywords on YouTube, they will be redirected toward a playlist of curated YouTube videos that directly confront and debunk violent extremist messages. Now, that's an interesting choice of words, violent extremist messages. In other words, that's code language for we're going to give you videos. When you search for something, we're going to give you a list of videos that counter the information that you were originally looking for.
Right.
Yes.
You're gonna get BuzzFeed, and you're gonna get Snopes and all that.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Now, I'll continue reading. It says, We also continue to amplify YouTube voices speaking out against hate and radicalization through our YouTube Creators for Change program. Just last week, the UK chapter for Creators for Change Internet Citizens hosted a 2-day workshop for 13 to 18-year-olds to help them find a positive sense of belonging online and learn skills on how to participate safely and responsibly on the internet. We also pledged to expand the program's reach 20,000 more teens across the UK.
That's
now
creepy.
It is creepy.
It's 1984 in hyperdrive.
Yeah.
Now I'll go back. The sentence that says, we also continue to amplify YouTube voices speaking out against hate and radicalization, blah, blah, blah. You remember last week or the week before when I was talking about the online persona management, then I thought that the YouTube Heroes program was directly created to facilitate the paid government and corporate trolls.
Yeah.
To give them the ability to flag content and have it removed.
That's right. That's right.
So they just gave that power to the trolls, essentially.
Yep.
Now, Ian, if you didn't hear me read this, I'll read this again. Again, this is from YouTube. We'll soon be applying tougher treatment to videos that are not illegal, but have been flagged by users as potential violations of our policies on hate speech and violent extremism. If we find that those videos do not violate our policies, but contain controversial religious or supremacist content, they will be placed in a limited state. The videos will remain on YouTube behind an interstitial. In other words, they won't be recommended, they won't be monetized, they won't have key features including likes, comments, or suggested videos. So in other words, they have the fucking audacity to disable your comment section and your like buttons.
And basically stick you in the corner and tell you
Sandra.
to shut up.
By the way, hi Sandra.
Well, yeah, I mean, they want total control now because it's backfiring on them. Right? There's got to be something new, like, you know, we got to get off YouTube somehow. There's got to be some
dying on the vine, bro.
You know, but even if you go to other platforms, they're still going to be operated by Google. Like, you're still going to have to go through the same servers, right?
Somebody said that what we should do is get it like a GoFundMe together and get it all, you know, put up a site that's entirely, you know, free speech. Now, the only problem is, who do you trust to handle the money?
Right. That's the big problem, because trust is a big problem here in this community.
Exactly.
Everyone's chill. Hi, Bella.
Yeah, like Alt for
You know, I could
example,
say, right? I could say I know I'm trustworthy, but who's going to believe that? You know, it's like I would do the best job I possibly could to make it happen and create our own complete.
So have you guys had any time? Have you checked out Steemit or Minds.com? I've been hearing a lot about those two.
I signed up for Minds. I'm not very fond of it. It's very non-intuitive, and I'm pretty good at figuring out things on the web. But I struggled quite a bit to get a feel for it. I wasn't very fond of it. I tried to sign up for Steemit. It asked me for a username. That was cool. It asked me for an email address. That was cool. Then it asked me for a telephone number, and not just any telephone number. It had to be a mobile telephone number so they could send a text message. I don't have that. And I was hoping to get on Steemit, make a little money, and get one. So that's as far as I got with Steemit. And I guess I'm not going to be making any money on Steemit because I don't have a phone. Now, somebody else suggested that I ask somebody if I can use their phone number. But if I do that, that means if they want to go on Steam it, they can't use that phone number. You know?
Right.
Because they want unique phone numbers. So if you're a duplicate, you can't use that phone number. Yeah. So, you know, it's like sort of rock and hard place here, you know? Catch 22.
I'm surprised they only allow a mobile phone number.
Well, because they want to be able to send a text. You can't send a text to a landline.
Well, yeah, you can. There's text to landline features.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, we have it here.
Where would the text
to landline?
Where would the text show up on a landline?
It reads it out.
Oh, well,
a voice reads it out and gets words wrong.
Maybe they would accept a landline if you had that function enabled somehow, but nobody here knows how to get that happening, including me.
Yeah.
So, you know, you could probably manage to get away. Basically, they send you a code. And if, you know, most people don't have that function on their landline. And so they just make it mobile. They say mobile because they know that you can get a text over your mobile phone. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's what surprised me. You guys don't have that feature there? I'm sure you do.
Well, maybe we do. I've just never heard of it.
Is Lady Zaga in U.S. or Canada?
I don't know.
I don't know. Give her a...
I guess I'll find out in 25 seconds.
Yeah, you'll find out in 20 seconds after the delay. We got Guru Dev is with us, and Ghost in the Prison is with us. So hello, guys, and Aldona99. Thanks for your comments and thanks for joining us. We got a new person there. I'm not familiar. Amy, what about a prepaid phone? Are you checking the chat? Somebody asked. Aldona99.
Well, yeah. Here's the problem. What money?
Yeah, she doesn't have an income.
Yeah.
I you know, I'd love to just go get a prepaid phone, but you know, when you're looking at a couple of dollars that you have left from a while ago, and it's been that way for quite a while, you know.
So Ghost in the Prison just got a dopamine hit.
A dopamine hit.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the science behind it's similar to a drug addiction when you play in when you're doing social media and you check your messages and you're waiting for someone to get back to you or reply. You know what I mean? Are you guys familiar with what I'm talking about? You guys at least know a little bit about what I'm talking about. You get a dopamine hit, okay? It's something that your brain does when someone replies to a comment or or comments on your video, that kind of thing. You get this dopamine hit. I'm just teasing you, Ghost. I'm just teasing. So anyway, you guys, I've got some notes here. Are you familiar with Lauren Southern?
I've heard that name before.
Okay, I've only heard the name because I've been looking into the recent changes in YouTube and their policies. Lauren Southern, I don't really know much of anything about her, except I'm hearing people championing her name because she's one of the people who have been kicked off of Patreon.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Okay.
I hadn't heard anything about someone being kicked off Patreon.
Yes.
Why was she kicked off?
Well, I don't remember exactly why. We can look that up. We still have time. But the point is that Facebook, Twitter, YouTube are all teamed up with some other non-governmental organization think tanks. They're all teamed up to, quote unquote, combat violent extremism. And by the way, before I even go any further, I've been dying to ask this question. I've been dying. Lauren Southern. Yes, thank you, Aldona. because I actually thought it was Sutherland at first. I thought I pronounced it proper the first time. Anyway, listen, here's a question for everyone in the chat, everyone on the panel, and after the video is uploaded, if you watch this, if you feel like answering, please leave me a comment. Have you ever, in all your time on YouTube, has anyone ever encountered what you would consider promotion of violent extremism? Now, I'm not necessarily talking about, you know, the kids filming each other on the playground while there was a brawl going on.
Yeah, not that. You're talking about ISIS and such, right?
Anyone ever, yes, Amy, has anyone ever, hang on, Ian, hold that frame, don't go away, we'll get to that in 1 second. Has anyone ever encountered terrorist ideology?
No, not really. Never. I've
not
heard them say, kill all those, you know, towel heads or sand niggers.
Yeah, you'll get the rednecks.
Yeah, that doesn't count either.
And by the way, this is important. Everyone in the sound of my voice, please hear me carefully. Whenever you see a comment in a comment section under a video or a blog or anywhere, whenever you see a comment and somebody is calling for violence, you can almost be sure that that is a paid provocateur.
Right.
Yep.
Okay? That's part of online persona management.
I just asked them if they're OPM. That seems to work really well.
I mean, I should probably play the video from Distorting Our Rhythm recently, the other day, the one I showed you, Amy, the last week.
Yes.
Distorting Our Rhythm put up a good video where he showed a bunch of documents on like the shill handbook or how to be a shill.
Yeah, the shill handbook.
Something like that. Yeah, well, I should go find that in a minute. Anyway, Ian, go back to the beginning. Let's look at what you got there.
All right, so this is Lauren Southern here. She got banned from Patreon. Says, with her anti-migrant misadventures in the Mediterranean, the far-right Canadian YouTuber finally crossed the line. Dun, 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 dun.
The thin red line.
The Patreon account of former Rebel Media personality Lauren Southern was banned late last week by the subscription-based crowdfunding website, following a lobbying campaign by the UK-based anti-extremism charity Hope Not Hate. Yes, Hope Not Hate lobbied Patreon directly, and they removed everyone connected to Defend Europe from their service. Defend Europe, I'm guessing, is some sort of organization. Hope Not Hate Director of Communications, Nick Ryan, told Canadaland in an email, quote, if you're curious as how Hope Not Hate had enough lobbying, quote unquote, lobbying leverage to make Patreon delete Lauren Southern's account, look no further.
Well, zoom in, expand that out. What's the details up there?
So it says her comment back, Patreon just deleted my account. After lobbying by Hope Not Hate and others, crowdfunding site at Patreon has removed accounts of Defend Europe.
So even Patreon is getting in on this game.
Yeah. They're also now just censoring what they feel is hateful rhetoric.
So have you heard of this guy, Professor Jordan? Dr. Jordan Peterson. Heard of this guy?
No.
No.
Well, he's also in this mix. This is a guy who has like 365,000 YouTube subscribers. He was locked out of his Google account, his YouTube channel. He couldn't get into any of it. Why? Because he refused to use the proper LGBT pronouns.
That guy, yeah.
What's his name?
His name is Dr. Jordan Peterson. He's a clinical psychologist at the University of Toronto. He was locked out of his YouTube account, has over 350, this is my notes, said 350,000 subs. Now he's at 365,000. He got no explanation. He basically garnered his fame in 2016 for his opposition to Canada's C-16 bill, he was been called transphobic for his refusal to use genderless pronouns. He took to social media, got a little bit of help from Joe Rogan and Steven Crowder. If you're not familiar or louder with Crowder, that's actually not too bad of a channel, whatever you think of those guys. And a few others. Finally, he finally got his shit was restored after some public backlash. Now, Mark Dice has a video of a very similar story with him. With he took to Twitter. It took a Twitter campaign to reinstate one of Mark's videos that was taken down, where he was basically just being critical of CNN.
Here's the story of this Jordan Peterson, professor of psychology at the University of Toronto. I'll just put the article up and scroll through for people to read it after.
Hello, did we lose everybody?
No, I'm just actually reading this article. Reading what they were saying here.
Well, where did Aaron go?
So we've got, here seems to be a conversation between Carol Off, whoever that is. It's probably earlier in the article.
You don't have it up on the screen there. You're not screen sharing.
Yeah, what happened? I thought you were looking at Jordan
Peterson.
Peterson.
It's not screen sharing. Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't click screen.
That's why I was wondering. I'm going, what's going on?
So here's this guy.
There we go. There we go.
Jordan Peterson. He says, "I'm not a bigot. Meet the U of T professor who refuses to use genderless pronouns." And it says, this week, University of Toronto psychology professor Jordan Peterson released a video online criticizing political correctness on campus. He also said he doesn't recognize a person's right to be addressed using genderless pronouns like they instead of he or she. Under the proposed federal law, Bill C-16, it will become illegal to discriminate on the basis of gender identity or expression. As it happens, host Carol Off spoke with Peterson about his position. So she asks him, why have you said you don't recognize another person's right to determine what pronouns you use to address them? Says, why have you said you don't? That's right. I don't recognize that, he says. I don't recognize another person's right to decide what words I'm going to use. Especially when the words they want me to use, first of all, are non-standard elements of the English language, and they are constructs of a small coterie of ideologically motivated people. They might have a point, but I'm not going to say their words for them.
See,
right. Why should they have control over my freedom of speech when they're bringing up something new that's against the grain, right? It's not part of the English language and stuff. It's not really.
So whatever happened to C-16, Ian? Is that thing still in limbo? Has it passed? Did it die? What happened?
Well, I believe it passed. I think.
So it's now illegal to use the wrong pronoun?
Oh, that's so absurd.
Well, I mean, really? Who's going to enforce this? That's the question I have. Who is going to enforce? Are people actually going to call the
Ian, you know who's going to enforce it. It's self-censorship. All they got
online,
to
sure,
do is
but
put
I
out
mean,
a
in
couple of
open
stories.
conversation.
This guy got arrested or that guy got arrested, and everybody else is going to step in line. Most of them.
Like I can see online, if you do it in public media or whatever, but like on a personal conversation basis, who's going to enforce that, right?
Yeah, I'm calling the police on you. You used the wrong pronoun. Oh,
you're at a bar and she says, "Where's our drinks?" Oh, well, she's coming to bring them. No.
You know, it'll start in the universities and the schools. The teachers will either lose their jobs or they'll be fined. That's where it'll start.
Yep.
But this is insaneness. I mean, Canada has gone completely bizarro world. Bonkers.
Yes.
Right? We've got a guy who has a genderless baby, the first of its kind anywhere ever. Okay.
Blame Canada.
They want to legalize, in a sense, bestiality.
Right.
Right? And
Yep.
it's
They
not
want to
really
normalize
legalizing
pedophilia.
bestiality, but it's more complicated.
Have sex with
But
farm animals.
but you can have sex with farm animals if you want to have sex with farm animals. If that's what you like, then that's what you do. You can do. If it's on your property, you can do whatever you want to that cow.
That's me.
Wow.
Like, it's just, you know,
That is disgusting.
it's because we're so damn politically correct up here, right? That
Ugh.
any little thing is offensive to anyone.
George
But my
Orwell
argument
would be
is
proud.
things weren't like this before. They were set in place for reasons why they don't have these laws and these rules. Because
Ian, back up and repeat. You broke up.
it's these new things that these people are creating laws to protect, right? Like this new thing about genderless people and all this new stuff, okay? Which 30 years ago would have been, you know, not even a question, right? Now they want to force it down your throat and say you're a bad person if you don't accept it, right? And that's what's wrong with it. I agree people can do whatever the hell they want to do, but when they start shoving it down your throat, saying you're a bad person if you don't agree with it or if you don't,
Yes.
you know, then that's where it's like, whoa, you're violating my own personal liberties of freedom of expression, right? And making me sound like the bad person when you're trying to sell me something that's, you know, that we never had before, right?
So, have you guys noticed? I might have asked this before on the show. I know I was talking to some people in real life the other day about this subject. Have you noticed that all this trans apocalypse shit that we're experiencing? Have you noticed that the vast majority, maybe not all, not 100%, but the vast majority of all the trannies are male to female? Does anybody notice that?
Almost all, yeah, most of them, yes.
I mean, of course, we got our bull dykes. Okay, there's always going to be a mix of everything, but in reality, what we're seeing in media, particularly,
is men in dresses. And
it's male to female.
But on the other hand, if you look at the entertainment industry, you've got a mix of both, right? You've got the who's the Eurythmics singer there? What was her name?
Annie
Lennox. Annie Lennox. She looked like a guy.
Well, okay, fine. She looked like a guy, but she was still banging guys, wasn't she? Or was she?
I think. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, she dressed up like a man. She'd wear suits, right?
She was with that guy for 7 years.
So Lady Zaga doesn't seem to agree with me. You don't think so, lady?
There's both, but I would say the good majority are men to women.
Okay, I mean, I can't name off the top of my head, except for maybe one.
Because of the cross-dressing thing, right? We
got Bradley Manning, right? The whistleblower, the whistleblower, Bradley Manning. We got
Bradley
Bruce
Manning.
Jenner.
Chelsea, come on.
Bruce Jenner, right? Jenner.
Bruce Jenner.
Ah, that's awesome.
Caitlyn Jenner.
We got Will Smith's kid running around in fucking dresses.
Well, they all have to wear a dress.
A feministic clothing line for young kids, boys.
Aaron, they all have to. Every entertainment
listen,
has to wear a dress once on TV.
Well, here's the reason I even brought it up. And Lady Zaga, I'm watching the chat. Women to man is harder to tell. Maybe it is harder to tell, but what I'm seeing in the media is male to female more than female to male transgender.
Yeah, well, especially with Caitlyn Jenner.
And then we also have to consider the BPA. Okay, it's in plastics, it's in the ink on every receipt, right?
Yep.
Bisphenol A. Bisphenol A has been proven, and we are swamped with it. It's fucking everywhere. It's been proven that bisphenol A, certain rivers and streams and lakes that are contaminated with BPA have shown that frogs and fish switch gender from male to female, not the other way around. BPA causes men to become effeminate.
Yeah.
Now, what we've had for decades, long before the trans-apocalypse that we're going through right now, right? The whatever this thing is that we're experiencing in this last 5 or 6, 10 years. Long before that, in media, we had the effemination of men in movies and sitcoms.
Yeah.
And that has ramped up all the way to the point where now they're looking at a female James Bond. We've got all of the major heroes, right? All of our manly men heroes turn out that in real life they're actually gay. So if you go and find, right, you go and you idolize somebody, and then you find out later on he's a pole puffer.
Yeah, John Wayne comes
We're
to
not
mind.
anti-gay around here, guys. We're not anti. Everybody's got their own choice in life.
Okay, so add that for sitcom, right? Remember the Bundys, and right, the men are stupid and men are idiots and men are fuck ups and they're incompetent, right? They're the okay, that's fine. You can have a laugh at men, but if this went on for decades in the media, particularly sitcoms, and then in some movies.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we had this whole decade or more where not only did we have that already happening, but in what was it, Terminator 3? I think that was like marked the beginning, where the hero was this badass female.
Right. Well, I don't know. Aliens.
Aliens. That's what came to mind.
There you go. Okay. We had
Sigourney Weaver.
Badass in the 80s.
And same with Tomb Raider. What's her name?
Yeah, Lara Croft, right? Angelina Jolie played Lara Croft.
Yeah.
So then we just had this whole slew of movies where the female is the badass, and
not only that, in wrestling too, we had China. Remember?
Oh, vaguely. I didn't keep up with that much.
Holy shit! Hey, top that off with the what's the cage fighting? I forget right off the top of my head. Can't think of it right now. The
Thunderdome?
No, the Octagon, the bare knuckle.
Octagon, yeah.
No, the cage fighting. The
Octagon. Yeah.
What's it called? The circuit that the bare knuckle guys are.
I have no idea.
It's the what's it called? It's Joe Rogan's gig. It's the UFC.
UFC, right? Ultimate Fighting. Thank you. Now we've got female Ultimate Fighters. So if you enjoy watching chicks just bash the shit out of each other, then
which I don't. I have no interest in watching anyone bash the shit out of anyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Broadsword.
In shows now, women are getting beaten up by men.
It's now called MMA. Thank you, Broadsword.
MMA, yeah, mixed martial arts.
Hey, Amy, do you want to hop over to Liam's channel and drop him a link? He said he had something interesting to add to our earlier conversation.
Radio.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the UFC that we're thinking of, but there is also MMA.
I think the UFC morphed into the MMA.
MMA is an offspin of.
Oh, is it? Okay.
More or less, I guess you might say. Just brought it more to the forefront. That's all.
Well, I don't mind watching. I do, actually. It does bother me a little bit. And I'm a guy, okay? And I don't mind watching a fight. When two people willfully and acknowledge under their own volition to enter a ring and duke it out, then fine. I don't mind watching somebody get pummeled. But
Ladies, yeah, go ahead.
I dare you to read my post above, Aaron. Let me see. I'll have to.
Well, he said.
Okay.
He says, okay, for example, Hoover was a tranny, women to men cross-dressing as a woman and gay as a man.
That is true. Hoover was a tranny.
Edgar Hoover, the CIA director.
FBI.
Oh, FBI, right.
Yeah, FBI.
Right.
Personally, I don't really give any kind of crap what somebody does with a consenting adult behind closed doors. That's not my business.
Nobody does, man.
Their choice.
You know,
It
it's
goes
like I
without
really
saying.
don't care.
Your
It
life. Do whatever you want.
It
But
goes
don't
without
shove it down my
saying. I
throat.
mean, it totally goes without saying. Nobody cares what anybody else does, right? Nobody
Yeah.
cares. Nobody's staying up at night worrying about what other people are doing behind closed doors.
No.
Yes.
I mean, in their private bedrooms, that is.
Right.
I,
Unless-
on the other
was gonna
hand,
say,
stay
if
up at night worrying about certain people behind closed doors, like, the Koch brothers and George Soros.
the meeting, the boardroom closed doors.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, really. The
Those
secret
That's
society.
different. That's
What
different.
are they doing next?
Sure.
Yeah, I know.
So anyway, back to the trans thing, transpocalypse. Look, it's my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, you guys really let me know. Lady Zaga doesn't seem to agree. I think the majority of what I've seen is male to female transgender transformations, and we have the BPA, which is proven to switch certain animal species from male to female. And on top of that, studies have shown that the human male sperm count is down something like 40 to 60%.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's a
huge number. It's
drop.
huge.
Yes, I read an article about that last week. Yeah.
Oh, the mafia had images of J. Edgar Hoover giving a blowjob to his boyfriend? Really?
It would not surprise me.
That's why he denied that there was a mafia. I saw a bumper sticker years and years ago that said, "There is no mafia, and we'll kill anybody who says there is."
Yes.
Whatever. Well, the mafia is in suits. They're not.
The mafia's in the White House, dude.
Yeah, they're the ones in suits.
I mean, right now the mafia is running the world. In fact, on that note, you remember in the movie The Godfather 3? Do you remember the premise of what that particular third installment was about?
I never saw it.
I can't remember. It's been so long ago.
Okay, about middle way through to the end of Godfather 3, they were having a bunch of meetings, the heads of the families, particularly the Jewish families.
Was that at the Vatican?
Hyman Roth, which was the head of the Jewish mafia, and the Corleones, they were making deals because Cuba. Remember, the setting of the movie is in the 50s, so this is not only during the Cold War, but the Cuban uprising and all that shit. So when the government of Cuba was in turmoil, the mafia was down there trying to take over, trying to get into positions of government.
Right.
Destabilization campaign.
But it was their way of beginning a new phase of mafia where they were beginning to take over governments. They weren't just interested in owning companies or corporations or being, an organized gang of criminals, street criminals, because that's how it always starts, right? It's
right.
Street criminals, they steal in trucks, and they're stealing cars, and they're doing drugs and hookers. And then it moves into they're owning businesses, and now they're corrupt businesses. And in the end of the movie Godfather 3, they start taking over the government, Cuban government.
Okay.
And the Vatican connection. You said something about the Vatican. There is a major.
I remember they were at the Vatican.
Yeah. Corleone. What's his name? Don Corleone.
I don't think it was Corleone.
It's Corleone. It's the Pacino character.
Right.
He wants to absolve himself of his sins, and the church is in financial trouble, and they need $200 million.
Right.
He says, you give us the money, and you get a first class ticket to heaven. So that's
wow.
Anyway,
it's like truth in plain sight. Truth in movies, lies in news. Right.
Yeah, no kidding.
But anyway, back to this trans thing. I don't know if.
Well, look, man, this is part of depopulation, right? They want.
Yeah, well, it's breaking up the family unit. It's destroying the family unit.
It's part of eugenics, man. It's part of the eugenics program. It's part of the depopulation agenda. the male sperm count is down 40 to 60%. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
Fertility is down in women. Fertility is down dramatically in men. And not only that, but because of the BPA killing fertility, BPA is also emasculating men. It's turning them into women.
Yeah, it's feminizing them. I remember
Yep.
Alex Jones brought that up, and he said it turns men gay.
No,
But he didn't really say that, but
he
they
said
spun
gay
it like that.
frogs. He said
right?
something about gay frogs. But they're not gay. It doesn't turn the frogs gay.
Yeah,
It
no,
turns them into women. They start producing eggs and giving
Yeah.
birth.
They did spin what he said, but you know, he was talking about the BPA on how it makes men more effeminate over time. That's what
Broadsword, I'm reading your quote, your comment. He says, I'll say it again. The lack in sperm count is not just about depopulation, but it also takes the vital energy, i.e. warrior spirit, ability to fight and resist away as well. See, that is exactly the point I was originally trying to make until we got sidetracked 8 times. Because the effeminization of men, which has been going on for decades, and now it's in full swing with the chemical BPA and the transgender agenda. And by the way, not to mention the fluoride, because that was the first to be used to take away the warrior spirit, to make people docile.
Yep.
Because I'm certain that Joseph Stalin and Adolf Hitler were not concerned about the condition of the teeth of their concentration camp attendees.
No, not really.
So Broadsword is absolutely 100% correct, and he brought me back to my point, and thank you for that. That this is about, look, people are waking up and people are getting pissed off, and you know who does things when they get pissed off? The men do. You know who goes to fight a war? You know who goes to stand up for injustice? The men do. The men do. And so this is the effeminization of men because they know what's coming, dude. They know the pitchforks and torches are coming, and I'm not surprised that we haven't seen pitchforks and torches.
Me too.
Real, because we're saturated in fucking chemicals that make us all want to be women. Where are the real men these days? They're wearing dresses, is what they're fucking doing.
Yeah, and tight jeans like women do, and you know
they're worried about what fucking
eyeliner. They're walking around with eyeliner on, you know. But it all comes from their teen idols, right? They're singers and they're stars.
Oh yeah, fucking Justin Bieber looks like
a girl,
like
half girl, half
Miley
guy.
Cyrus. If you put those two side by side, you could hardly tell them apart.
Yeah, true.
Wow. They're probably really brother and sister. Who knows?
Maybe they're conspiracy. The same person.
Yeah, I've heard that before, but I don't believe that.
Well, I'm just
they don't
joking.
Look that much the same. But yeah, I've heard that before.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Probably on Dallas Goldbug or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Something like that.
Yeah, if you ask Dallas Goldbug that Justin Bieber is Miley Cyrus, they're the same person.
And Sylvester, who is it? Was it Sylvester? Not Sylvester.
That dude's fucking retarded. I'm sorry, but if anybody listening to me likes Dallas Goldbug, I'm sorry. Please unsubscribe. You're doing yourself a huge disservice. That guy is just nuts. Okay,
wasn't it Sylvester Stallone? He said was Ahmadinejad of Iran. Or it wasn't Sylvester.
No, not Stallone. It was
Henry Winkler.
Fonz. Yeah, the Fonz.
Henry Winkler. Yeah, he said he was Ahmadinejad.
Well, I have to admit, there's a good likeness going there.
Isn't he gay? Isn't
Winkler? Probably.
Is Winkler gay?
That's the most ironic thing ever.
Does anybody in the chat, do you know, is Henry Winkler gay? Because he kind of looks like he could be gay.
I don't know. Let's type it in.
Yeah, he does.
It's just another example of one of our manly men that we all used to look up to turn out to be gay. And it looks like we are joined with Liam Xmail. Hey, Liam, how you doing? Good to see you again.
I'm doing pretty good. I was just getting everything sorted out with my audio settings, and I'm hoping you guys are hearing me okay.
Hey, Zach Hawkins is with us. Hey, buddy. Good to see you.
So I was going to mention one or two things about what you're talking about earlier, I had also seen the recent referencing to that title of that book. And it again reminds me of something that I may have mentioned to you guys before in the past. And again, are you guys hearing me okay?
We got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Okay, cool. I'm doing pretty good. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. So we have like Jules Verne, and then we also have H.G. Wells. We have figures who, for all points and purposes, were made to appear to be, relative, patrons of the arts, patrons of the sciences, people who were, big fans of history. And a lot of the times what we don't realize is that these people are kind of put into these positions because of perhaps information they've been given by their families, or perhaps high-ranking positions that their family members once held. And so they're kind of like the higher echelon members of society who are made to be artists to give us a glimpse into the world that really exists, so that way they can still kind of spark the imagination of the masses and then take those ideas and use them to, again, increase their wealth, power, and, prestige. Like GE, we make good things. No, we just take good things from people who make them and make it pretend that they're ours. So
we bring other people's good things to our light.
Yeah.
That's right, into our bank accounts or whatever we call them, because we don't use those numbers anymore. Now, we have figures like Disney who, he was able to get a couple of the people from the War Department, both from Germany and America, to participate with his film projects. And then we have Joseph Goebbels, who was a famous propagandist creator for the Nazi Germany. And then when Nirvana won their 1992 award for MTV, all they went up and said was, Kurt said, "Don't believe everything you read." And then Chris Novoselic said, "Remember Joseph Goebbels," and then they left. Now, Joseph Goebbels took his own life eventually from an assisted suicide by gunshot. That sounds like one of the stories that we were given at one point of time about Kurt Cobain. You remember that in El Diablo?
Yeah.
Now, I wonder if there's perhaps any chance at all if he was referencing his own future script, that he has to be suicided. He has to be one of the first dress-wearing guys, junkie guys. And I mean, look how popular, opiate use is in America now in this age, right? And he kind of became like an icon for that in a lot of ways.
Brought to you by the U.S. government.
Right.
Yes.
Now, we don't want to jump around too far, but because of the way I chose to study the path of knowledge, which a lot of it was instructed by like figures like Don Juan, Carlos Castaneda, but real life figures as well, like Emmanuel Trujillo, the owner and founder of the Peyote Way Church, a figure who fought the federal government to make peyote use legal, and he eventually won. And you are now able to use peyote in 5 states of the United States, even if you're not a native, even if you're not you're a member of any particular religion. But I mention that because it's people like this who have provided me with insights to how things will eventually play themselves out. Now we go back to Donald Trump, and this is in reference to what you were saying earlier. There's a great writer by the name of Alexander or Alex Putney, and I reference him often. Let me see if I can share my screen real fast.
Sure.
And I reference him often because he's that young man who decided that he was going to run off to the mountains of Ecuador, and after he finished his writings, he was going to be done with the majority of work that he felt he should do, and all of the elders of all the tribes he had the opportunity to come in contact with said, "You need to run off and disappear into the forest so that when whatever happens, the great for humanity occurs, you'll be able to come out with the knowledge that you've gained and redistribute it to the masses." And so that I think of as a very high statement that many of us can appreciate. But the work he did while he was here was in many ways to bring us light to what has been hidden from us. And that's in regards to the writings of Nikola Tesla, the way that Curious George was actually a pun at one of the family members of the Bush family, because this member of the Bush family, like Albert Einstein, started off early in their career as patent officers. So before anybody else got access to this technology and secret science, these patent officers were given plenty ample period to review these patents, make sure they were all filled out properly, and submit them. So we have this writer in history who came up with Curious George, and he says that this was in reference to Nikola Tesla constantly referencing his patent officer, his assistant, George Sheriff, who was actually one of the elder family members of the Bush family, and how he was always, going through his paperwork and exposing his ideas to his friends and associates, which was, taboo at that time. Now, to bring this into focus, okay, we have Curious George, one writer. We have Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Are you familiar? He's somebody I started working with recently.
I'm pretty familiar with, yeah.
Yeah, he's actually a neighbor to me here in the Southern Oregon area. Here is his let me see if I can do this.
You gave me his contact information last time we talked.
Right. And so he was telling me the same thing, having been an avid collector of all of these secret comic books, and they're much larger than, they're about the size of Rolling Stone magazines. They all contain information that the government doesn't necessarily want to get out. So that was one of the ways that not only spies, but also people who were involved with the truth community wanted to get information out. Now, with Donald Trump and his son, with Jules Verne in this book, From the Earth to the Moon, with everything that's being kind of projected into our modern system of thought, it's still in that same light. They are still trying to put things in our perspective so that we can try to make these connections, try to connect these dots. And they're really, really sitting back there, behind the curtain of Oz going, they're so close. they're on top of it. You're really warm, and then things happen, things change. And as that course of time dictates itself, have you been privileged to a channel by the name of Polarization Nation Media on YouTube?
Yes, I unsubbed that channel.
Of course you did. Of course you
too.
unsubbed. Of course, so did I. Didn't we all? But now, before we unsubbed, wasn't he making really good work?
Yes.
Well, I subbed him for a reason to begin with.
Of course. Now you got to take what people do, and then you got to run away with. Then you got to leave when it's time to leave, of course. And so there is a very, very great and rich code that everybody is beginning to stumble onto, become more and more aware of. But Donald Trump and his cabinet seem to be leaps and bounds beyond all that, and that is where we are getting into a mixture of what we see with Alex Putney, his work, what we see with quantum physicists, engineers, people who are studying, time portals, people who are studying augmentation of reality, people who are studying simulation. We're about to become an inception within an inception, basically with what's going on in Japan. They already have complete systems set up for the entire body to completely confuse the nervous system to thinking it's in a augmented reality system that's like completely real. They can feel weight on their chest, they can feel the heat, they can feel the cold breeze, everything. It becomes a moment where we have to say that the technology that we're often privileged to is so much farther advanced. And when I say farther, people say, oh yeah, it's 70 years. No, like 70,000 years. And then we can start to say, really? Well, what makes you think that technology is 70,000 years different than what we are getting privileged to? Well, Sean Lennon thinks that. John Lennon's son, he thinks that, and he was put into special schools for special elite people who have to be given special knowledge so they can still do what people have to do in a world. Now, do they want to depopulize this planet? They sure do. Is that what they plan on doing is that what they plan on doing all along? It sure is. Can they raise better crops that are more in line with the type of thought processes they want them being able to make? Like, do they want people to exist where they don't know they have rulers? Yeah, they do. So that's what they're working towards. But we're in this nice little window of opportunity where what you're saying about setting up a protest booth, I'm going to go do it tomorrow. I have 5 people in my community here who all run businesses, and they'd love to be a part of it immediately, I'm sure. So it's a hard part, though, and this is the last thing I'd love to contribute, because I hope it kind of brings it together. It's a hard part in the water where we have to say, okay, there's this truth, and then there's this truth. And this truth kind of is the truth reserved for people who micromanage all these other people who are looking into these other truths. Now, it doesn't make these other truths any less important or any less relevant, but how monumental of a change will occur by the complete fulfillment of the verification of the facts that go behind this deception, the illusion that's kept it in place, and the reality of the truth that exists beyond the deception, compared to some of the earth-shattering paradigm changes that are also occurring simultaneously. So I appreciate what people like Polarization Nation Media has done, and then I come to a point where I say, if you need a better pair of glasses, we can see what we can get the Lions Club to get available for you, you know, because there's no way Lane Staley is freaking Chester Bennington and crap like that, you know. So if we can absolutely see where our value exists and how we can look at what Donald Trump is looking at, because he's a member of an elite society, try to play this in fast forward. Are we going to go heads up with Iran? Are we going to go heads up with North Korea? If so, is there going to be a monumental population decrease? And if that occurs, what's going to be the bounce back? Is it going to be that Trump made the best choices? Was it that Obama was a fake president? Was it that Hillary Clinton was supposed to be president, but the Russians created conflict? It's such a constant onslaught of nonsense that we have to get through that and see that this is all a little microscopic illusion, because the inception point is kind of broader and more definitive.
Yeah, well, they're creating the illusion of the division between the two parties, for one thing.
Right, so they can justify the reaction later. Forgive me for interrupting. Go ahead.
Well, we all know that this is all theater.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason it's theater is to prevent the pitchforks and torches.
Right.
That's that is the whole MO behind all the theater, the political theater, all of it is nothing more than to prevent the pitchforks and torches.
To keep themselves in power, everything possible to remain in power.
Yes, so that we're fighting each other instead of them.
That's right.
So
the psychopaths in control.
I don't think we're going to go up against Iran. I don't think we're going to go up against North Korea.
We'll see what the script calls for.
Sure, exactly. It's certainly possible. I'm not making any predictions. I'm just telling you my opinion. I just don't think that is going to. And look, even if we do, let's say that we do have to go and bomb Iran. That's not going to create the world depopulation that Liam had, questioned a moment ago. I don't think that a struggle against North Korea is going to bring about this massive depopulation that is, inscribed in stone in Georgia Guidestones. It's going to take something a lot bigger than that. North Korea doesn't, even if they did have, and they do, let's be honest, they do, intercontinental ballistic missiles where they can deliver nuclear weapons to the shores of America. So what? How many do they have? They're certainly not going to wipe out the whole country. And what? We don't have any missile defense? What? Are you kidding me? You're telling me that we're supposed to worry about this? How much we have all this fucking technology and missile defense, and you're worried about North Korea testing a missile? It's on the news every day. Oh my God, they tested a missile. Oh my God, they tested a missile. Oh my God, they can reach our shores. No, they can't. We have missile defense, remember?
Yeah.
We can detect it the moment it leaves the ground. We can shoot it down before it leaves their backyard. Right? Yeah. Can we or can't we? What the fuck are we supposed to be afraid of?
I think we can.
What the fuck are we supposed to be afraid of? Really?
Now, another point would be is we have the show 12. We have the film 12 Monkeys, and some people say that. Right. Some people say that, oh, well, this was just an attempt to, it was a marketing ploy on the behalf of the film responsible for the project of 12 Monkeys. But no, this was not even anywhere closely connected with one or the other. There was a channel on YouTube 15 years ago or 10 years ago, because, supposedly YouTube's only like 11 years old, but really it's whatever. There was a channel a long time ago, and he said, oh, well, in the year 2016, around November, you guys get yourselves involved in a nuclear event, and you guys cause vast amounts of devastation to each other. And we're here, and you guys can leave comments in the comment section of this YouTube channel, and we will review the comments from the future and see if you guys can attempt to get on the proper path that you ought to be on to stop your guys from, getting into this mix that you're about to. And then eventually this channel disappeared. But there's a lot of reason to wonder how much access people have to what is the proper timeline of things. And I'm not just saying like, oh, see, it's really the year 1017 or the whole Common Era BC AD thing. No, it's kind of like the technology that perceivably could have existed a long time ago can justifiably have put us into a position where we're not necessarily experiencing the true nature of our reality. And there's other people who have put out information like that too. And it gets back to that whole upper echelon of people. Like, how did Jules Verne write about a book and then it become basically the roadmap for NASA's space campaign under the Kennedy administration? We just have a lot of things that don't really match up anymore. And even like the commentator was saying in the video, language that was used in that video, I know a lot of people really want to hold on to the argument like everything is scripted since, 400 or 500 years ago, everything was completely scripted out. But I think that there's actually like a high likelihood that there was supposed to be a course that we were on that would have put us into a position that may even be worse than the one we're on now. But certain figures, perhaps the Trump family, have taken advantage of this by having knowledge of future events and are trying to redirect the course of history. And to say that they could know what the future is might state that the future might not be quite the future as we perceive it, but it might be a period of time that was already taken record of. And we are just living again in a simulated reproduction of that to see if we can play it out proper.
Could be. Whether you're religious or non-religious, I still think without some sort of divine intervention, I don't think we have a chance.
I don't think we have a chance either, Ian. I think we're too far gone.
I persist in believing that we have a chance. Because if I start believing we don't have a chance, I'm going to go find some place to die. Okay? Just saying.
We can still enjoy what we have for now. But
what can I enjoy? Are you kidding me?
I agree, Amy. There's not much to enjoy these days.
Well, and especially for someone in my position.
It's like seeing a bad accident, you can't unsee it. You can't unknow what you know.
This face here on the cursor on your screen now is a banquet that Nikola Tesla attended in 1915. And there's also one of these faces here also belonged to George Sheriff Sr., who eventually changed his name to George Bush Sr. That might be George Herbert Prescott or something like that.
Well, maybe Prescott is what I was thinking.
Yeah, Prescott. Yeah. Bush.
And it says here, only one photograph in public circulation records the face of George Sheriff Sr. at the Association of Radio Engineers banquet of 1915 above. Tesla is seen standing tallest in the middle of the back row, while Sheriff stands at the end of the same row to Tesla's left, his hands visible at his sides. So to Tesla's left, his hands visible at his sides, right here.
Is he cutting out, or is it just me?
Again, standing to Tesla's left would be the figure, I think, 2 over. I don't think it's him. I think it might be him.
Yeah.
So
you do keep cutting out a bit there, Liam.
I'm seeing if I could fix that right now. Sorry about that. I don't know why. Of course, it's because we're talking about what we're talking about, but it seems rather.
That wouldn't surprise me. We've had it happen before.
Yes,
when you get into something important and interesting,
yeah,
start glitching out.
The universe starts acting tweaky.
So
that every time I'm seeing if it's going to adjust. I try to adjust my bandwidth. So there you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so as I was saying, it says that while Sheriff stands at the end of the same row to Tesla's left, his hands visible at his sides. So I figure it's perhaps one of these 2 figures here. And all of this information is through.
I think it's the last guy on all the way to the right, because it says the end of the row, and he does have both his hands showing.
Okay. Over here?
Yeah, that guy.
Okay, just because you see the haircut and the eyebrow styles of that figure.
Yeah.
Let's see if you see right here. I think those are supposed to be one and the same. but I have to check again because.
Well, the what it says is that Scherf stands at the end of the same row to Tesla's left. So
Yeah,
to
so
our
you-
right. So that with his hands visible at his sides. Now there are some others that have a hand visible, but he's the only one with hands plural.
Right.
So
I
I'm
get you there.
guessing that's the one that they're saying is Scherf.
Okay. And so, you know, there's the whole man talk experiments. There's people who have eyewitness testimony of being aboard the ships that were subject to time interference experimentation. Einstein wanted to pick up this work afterwards, but didn't know where to begin. And so I do think that there's really decent, reasonable, you know, evidence there. Like, you should do some more research, everybody here, whatever they can. So when the chance comes that you guys can know for yourselves more about what, and that's not it. These are all just excerpts from his book. So whatever you guys can find online or whatever else you can find. He has like 11 books out. So check out that information as soon as possible.
Cool. Hey, good stuff, man. Listen, I want to just give a quick shout out to CMOT in the chat. While I was on Son of Perdition's channel this week, just refreshing myself on his stuff before we talked, I noticed that CMOT had left a comment with a link under one of his videos, and I went and checked out that link. It was pretty disturbing. I took a note. Unit 731 about the Japanese human experimentation. And I know it's completely switching gears, but I just wanted to give a shout out to CMOT. But anyway, if we get bored, we could pull this up. It's really interesting stuff. Unit 731 on Wikipedia. Just really disturbing to read what those guys, what people will fucking do to each other, you know, the horrible.
Let's understand what psychopaths will do to people.
Well, Amy, look.
And I understand.
Not everybody's a psychopath, and yet they will still engage when told by their superiors.
Well, yeah.
Some people of lesser intelligence will believe the lie. They'll think they're doing it as patriotic duty because we need to learn about this, and we got an enemy coming, and we got to.
Well, it'll be trickle down effect.
Bullshit excuse pumped into their head, and they'll believe it.
Fair enough. But I'm going to say that it doesn't initiate from the non-psychopaths.
Okay, I agree. It doesn't initiate, but you know, still.
Because it all comes from the top. All orders come from the top.
Yes, and at the top we have psychopaths.
Psychopaths that run things. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're. Yeah. But he's just saying, you know, not every common person who's fighting. They think they're fighting for their freedom, right?
Right.
Even the people who engage and follow their orders to carry out these horrible human experiments, horrible stuff, man, horrible stuff. Like, you know, just off the top of my head, one of the last things I remember reading was they were studying the effects of hypothermia and frostbite, and they were taking these. The Japanese were doing this to the Chinese, mostly Chinese. They had other prisoners from other, you know, allied forces and some from Russia, but the vast majority were Chinese, and they were studying hypothermia and frostbite. They would take a prisoner outside and dip his arm or leg into, you know, freezing cold water until it literally froze solid. And they described how they knew, you know, they would test it by whacking it with a stick. And the literature says, you know, you can tell that it's frozen because it puts out the same noise as it would if you were to hit a board with a stick.
Yeah.
You know, the same thumping sound. You know, it just, oh God, I just can't imagine. It's just horrible what people do to each other.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, didn't want to shift.
SOP was talking about.
Rufus, I appreciate it. I had to adjust myself real fast again there. I noticing that I was cutting out at the end, and so I was just trying to get my whole thought process back on board. You know, like my great grandpa Chet, when he was in Congress, he was able to become one of the 6 appointed Congress members for the whole bomb program, and that's cool. But after that, he was still around for a long while after. And they kind of gave him the same type of, because you already get that security clearance, you might as well as not come up with 6 other congressmen. You got to go through the same process for giving security clearance to you. So they kind of kept these people around for a good while, you know, and what they were researching then and what they really got into studying. I mean, I give a lot of credibility to Stanley Kubrick and like that whole perception of things, like the whole world that exists that we think is just like a nightmare, make believe for, you know, line of series of films or whatever. It's a lot more realistic. It's a lot more authentic than that. They were trying to explain not just like the scientific discoveries that were made throughout the period of the wars, but also they were trying to discuss some of like the spiritual esoteric stuff that was going on. And like Germany during the war, they did a pretty good, thorough job of going around the world and looking for advanced technology, and they did a really good job of finding it too. And so because of that and our willingness to share things with different governments that were under our control, it kind of set up a very good control grid so that when we were getting things fed back to us in the main states, like we could be subjected to all types of different forms of dimensional attacks and not even know it. And so where we are now in this like period, I understand that that you feel like we're really, really far off and there ain't no way to correct it. And someone might also say that the only thing that's going to correct the path we're on is like a major spiritual realization. But, you know, it's just, I still kind of go with the same formulaic approach as ever. Like by the nature of there being a problem within that, which is the principles of the problem, there must be a solution that can be orchestrated, and then if the proper arrangement of players comes together to perform this orchestration, then we might be able to achieve that which is what needs to be done in order to stop them. But I mean, I'm not just thinking about one little thing here or one little iota there. I mean, depending on how much effort and energy we're willing to dedicate into this whole entire endeavor is how much we can pull out of this. If we want to, there's people running for Congress and people running for senator who couldn't even get a job for Staples, but they don't care. They just want to throw anything they can out there to try to put their best effort out to see if we can't get through this. And then who knows? But we have to realize, like, yeah, we're in a pretty sour position. What they're rolling out now is the very last tail end of what they need to get, like take complete control over us. But there's a couple movies yet to be made. They're just getting made now that are telling us how the end game gets played out. And so is there anybody here who thinks that, like, on that same wavelength, that there is a rational solution to the problems that exist, but our collective effort hasn't been motivated to it yet?
That would be me.
Yes, that's Amy. I just think everybody's controlled by fear, and the sooner we get out of fear, the better off we are.
Absolutely.
We're in a different vibration. A few of my subscribers have been mentioning lately, though, just recently, how there is a vibrational shift in energy going on right now. So,
well, something's definitely going on.
Well, may it be the right thing.
Hopefully.
I think that we are in a whole lot of freaking trouble, and I think that if we don't do something real soon to turn this around, and I don't know if it can be turned around. However, it might be stifled at the very least, that we could at least keep them at bay. And the only way I see to do that is a form of Amy's proposal, which is basically global non-compliance. You know,
I agree. I see that.
I mean, you know, violent protest gets nothing but it empowers the system.
Yes, it does. It gives them an excuse to unleash upon us.
Right. Right. All their expensive toys and energy weapons and sound weapons, cannons, and all that shit. That's right.
When somebody said today that I was reading, they said that they think that the whole exposing of human trafficking has been one of the biggest things that has taken place that really got a lot of attention, and they've been fighting ever since then to recontrol the narrative, and they're finally starting to do it. They had to throw so much complete utter bullshit and like nonsense at us that finally we bit onto something. You know, Eric Trump supposedly got banned from posting on Twitter today. I mean, he can post there, but nobody who's not following him already can see his post, therefore stopping his ability to get the message out. Alex Jones is trying to say they don't want the Trump administration getting word from the private sector of journalists of what's taking place, that they're trying to call this a terrorist organization that has taken roots within the confines of the Oval Office. And so it's like, is that part of the control script as well? You know, it's still the same, more scripting, same jargon.
Who knows?
Well, you know, speaking of the human trafficking and by the way, I'll add, you know, the child trafficking, pedophilia. George Gordon Liddy, his son, and I've cited Liddy several times on this show. I've read his book, and I used some stuff out of his book several times. I've quoted. His son was recently, just a week ago or 2 weeks ago, either charged or arrested for child pornography.
Oh, geez.
And for those who don't know, George Gordon Liddy, official full name, George Gordon Battle Liddy. One of those weirdos, elite fuckers that have 4 names because 3 just won't do. He was the fall guy for the Watergate scandal, basically.
Yep.
He was on or he either headed or was on the committee to re-elect Nixon. He worked for the Treasury Department. He worked for the FBI. He worked, I'm just going backwards in time. This is not chronological. He was an attorney. His father was an elite attorney. And Gordon Liddy spent time in prison as the fall guy, the main fall guy for the Watergate scandal break-in. And then afterwards, after he did his prison time, he actually managed to get his ass back in the circuit. They put him on TV. He was a commentator on Fox. He did commercials for Gold Line selling gold bars. And this is, you know, back several years ago when a lot of people were buying precious metals. So just so you know, that's who he is. He's sort of a big shot, and he's been around a long time. His kid is now in trouble for child trafficking or child pornography or something like that.
I think, I mean, it's a huge thing. It's everywhere. There are so many busts occurring now every day in different areas of the world, in different sectors of society, all walks of life. I know that they're giving us what we've been seeking, and that is a way of safety for humans to stop being exploited in the ways that they have been, and they're all coming up with new and fantastic ways for them to get away with it in other sectors of the world. But is that so that we kind of quiet down again? Because that's what they see. Like, we're the public, you know, we're the public, we're the people with the pitchforks, and we're out there with our torches, and they say, oh, okay, they're really upset about this, so we better give them what they're seeking, and that's, you know, some closure and some change, some hopeful promised change. But I don't think that that's really covering the whole picture. There are so many people who are still involved with this. This is becoming more trendy. This is becoming more of a social thing now. It is a normalization of it, but you know, I was on PlayStation Network yesterday, and they have different platforms, different servers, and there was some woman there, and she was saying some really, really exploitative, manipulative things, like inappropriate, like sexually orientated things. And it's an audience of children because it's on a PlayStation, they're on their platform, and it took a little while, like a good 15 minutes, but we were able to get her entire thing shut down. But it's just interesting that that anybody would even think that's appropriate. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the idea of infiltrators in the community these are the same kind of figures on both ends. You know, you have the people who are going to make obscenities in public so as to make us publicly look like less of a worthwhile populace, and then the same kind of people are going to be looking for funding from private individuals to go in and just troll channels, troll comments. Have you been present to any of Targeted Massachusetts's live conference calls? Because if not, it's something I think we should all start to participate in as well.
No.
So that's a free opportunity as a group of people with Frank Miller, I believe, and this is a Facebook page called Targeted Massachusetts. We have a couple of days a week, sometimes, if not maybe once a week. It's a group call. It can accommodate, I think, up near to 1,000 callers. And we talk about the different forms of targeting that is occurring and what we can do collectively to expose these things and how to not sound like lunatics in the courts trying to bring attention to these things. And that's another strong community that is developing because of people who are doing similar to things to what we're doing. And they're therefore becoming targeted for becoming what they call the whistleblower groups, you know? So,
yep.
So it's not about just running it into the ground. We're actually, you know, we're talking on the very same grounds about the things you guys are talking about, but something that I think is incredibly important at this period, and this is the last thing I'd hope to add. I'll get running along after this. It's almost 7 on my time, but that we need to keep uniting our different groups. And there's always going to be infiltration, and there's always going to be bad apples. But the more we communicate, just like old towns, old communities, when somebody came in who was a stranger, we all got to know that stranger. We all knew what each other's issues were. We all kind of knew how best to target the problems that come along. And right now, they've got us in a position where we're all getting up in the morning, we're checking our feed for the next terrible event that's taken place, the next right that's been exploited, the next piece of land that's been abused and squandered. And we're all trying to report on it. We're all staying up to speed on it, but we got to start destabilizing these people, taking back our authority. And by these elections that are coming up, I mean, the more people like ourselves that we can get into these positions and the more we can rally behind them to get them to office, like a community, we can know what to expect out of the future. It's going to be what we're all talking about here and bringing up.
I don't know, but I am of the opinion that we don't have any say in the corporation staffing its offices. They give us a good illusion that we have any kind of say, but all of the governments are corporations. You can find even your local town. If you're out in the sticks, if it's incorporated, it's a corporation.
Hopefully we can use the legislative powers that exist before they're removed.
Well, hopefully we can just eliminate the, you know, just don't consent to the whole system.
I doubt it, Leanne. I doubt we can use the legislative process, which is 100% subverted at this point.
It's their system. We do not have any success to be found in their system.
It's so, pure. Look, you know, I have to be honest. I think one of the ways that this might have to happen is that we have to clog the jails. In other words, we all have to be willing to be arrested for non-compliance. And I'll give you an example. Sue and Ray Jones were recently found guilty for feeding stray and feral cats in Augusta, Kansas. And maybe you've heard that some states have banned the collection of rainwater. And certain places it's illegal to live off grid. It's that kind of shit where people have to be willing to say, you know, oh, and not to mention fucking lemonade stands. Little girls' lemonade stands are being, I mean, are you kidding me? You can't really, it's like $170 to go get a license so a little girl can sell 10-cent lemonade in the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, that's just absolutely bloody absurd.
No.
What problem was that creating that we needed a law to get a license for?
Oh, I don't know. The media will say, oh, God, there's a listeria outbreak in this neighborhood, and it's all because of this little girl.
Uh-huh.
You know, we can't regulate the method that she made her fucking lemonade, and so it's not sanitary and sterile, and she didn't go through the process. And
here's my thought: if you're fearful of that, don't buy the lemonade and drink it,
or buy it and dump it out. Just say thank you and walk away. And
exactly.
You know, support the little girl and don't drink it.
But you know, it's like I don't think there were any problems that were, you know, they've created more problems than they're solving. That's just my. But then that's what they like doing, is creating problems.
Okay, well, here's the last idea then, I guess. Okay, so if we are going to clog their gelling systems, which they have infinite amount of money because they produce it out of debt, and they'll just stick it to your grandchildren. So they'll literally imprison you and incarcerate you for the rest of your life and stick your great-grandchildren, which you will or will not ever have, with the debt, which that's what they're doing and have been doing. And they'll continue to produce crappier and crappier prisons to accommodate this sudden outrage of subversive populaces. And then they'll be exactly satisfied, because then we'll all live in little cubicles and we'll all do as we're told. And we, like, I know it sounds like, well, that's the best way, but the legislative process doesn't exist, our work, because they corrupted that. So I think the last alternative is the kids doing the crazy stuff they're doing in the streets now.
Frankly, I think the best thing is that for everyone who can, and believe me, if I could, I'd be doing this, you bet, is start experimenting with free energy so we can get rid of the money system entirely. If everybody that could was experimenting and sharing successes freely, they could not control it all. And eventually free energy would get out, and we can stop accounting for our human energy, which is all that money does.
We need people to just fucking grow a pair of nuts, and stand up and speak out when you're in line at the bank. I'll give you an example. I'm a troublemaker, dude. I cause trouble everywhere I go.
I love you for that.
They have recently shut down all of Bank of America's satellite stores. They used to be inside the Kroger shopping centers, and they eliminated all of the Bank of America satellite stores. And there's a Kroger right across the street. So I could literally run to the bank and be home in less than 10 minutes. And that means that I'm talking about the time it takes for me to grab my keys, make my way there, go to the bank, do my business, and literally get back home less than 10 minutes. So now I have to go to a freestanding, corporate store, because there are no more of the satellite branches. And the closest one to me is about 10 to 12 minutes one way. So when I go there, because all of the satellite stores are closed, everyone has to go there. And now when I go there, the lines are fucking ridiculous. And when I get there, I'm standing in line for 10 or more minutes. And believe me, I make noise. I talk shit when I'm in line. And then when I get to the counter, I talk shit to the teller. So much so that the manager has to come over so that I can talk shit to the manager. You know what I mean?
What a pity.
People look at me, and I'm not afraid. I don't care. Look at me funny. I don't care. I'm pissed. I'm pissed. This is bullshit. Somebody fucking do something. And maybe if some of you pussies would speak up, these guys would get the hint and they'd fucking do something like, oh, I don't know, hire another fucking teller so I'm not standing here for 10 fucking minutes in line.
Yep.
All I want to do is cash this check. All I want to do is make a deposit. I'm in line for 10 minutes or more. The line's ridiculous. I get to the bank and there's 12, 15 people in front of me and 2 tellers.
Wow.
Hey, if you had a microchip, then you wouldn't have to worry, right? Just kidding.
Yeah.
All your troubles will go away.
Our new streamlined process. It's for your protection.
Anyway, so it's top of the hour, 7.
Anyway, Liam, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, brother, as always.
Thank you for your contributions. Ian, it's always good to see you. I hope you get your job.
Me too.
Oh, me too.
Ian, if you
Thanks, guys.
Ian, if you didn't know, we lost Jim Mars the other day.
Yeah, I know. I heard about it when he died.
Yeah, that's I'm one of those people who think Jim was top shelf, man.
Yeah.
I feel a genuine loss.
And we lost Tucker too. What was his
I don't know who you're talking
the
about.
guy who was exposing the Bilderbergs for so many years, Jim Tucker?
Oh.
We lost him too a year ago, I believe it was.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that are going on is that there's a transfer of generations. You know, we have we had a 32-year-old on the show earlier. I'm 34, you know, and we're trying to hold on. We're trying to hang on. But it seems like there is that saying that goes like when you're 40 years old, 50 years old, you just want your freaking beer at the end of the day. You just want the comforts of your living room. Can't you just leave me alone in my damn living room? But, you know, when you're 30 years old and you're looking at your kids who are 5 and you're like, damn, by the time they're 20, they're going to be like, you have to get castrated at birth. Forget circumcision. Castration is now the name of the game, you know? So
just so you know, Liam, I'm 60.
Yeah. So
and I'm not going to be looking to just being left alone with my beer or whatever in my live. No, I'm out fighting.
That's good. And that's why I'm here, right? It makes sense.
Absolutely.
You know, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot because some of the people who we get a chance to encourage, we don't know how far this goes. We don't know how the circle of influence ends. We just know the part we put in. Thank you guys very much.
Love always.
Much love, brother. I appreciate your contribution. So we got a couple of new people. Maria, somebody new just stood. Of course, Blue Blood, we love you, Jay. Lady Zaga, Broadsword, Bert Trim, Las Valdez. A lot of good people, a lot of regular people, a couple of new faces. We had... you know, earlier we had a couple of, Yeah Right was in here having a go at Chirpy Chimes and almost, you know, started a chat room brawl. I don't know what was going on over there. I guess Chirpy was bouncing back and forth between Bartley Gerba's broadcast and they were talking shit about Son of Perdition, I guess, or something like that. I don't really know the details. I wasn't able to keep up. But hey, listen, thanks everybody for being here. Allison Twist O'Neill, I see you made an appearance. Aldana 99, thank you for being here. We got new faces. We love you guys. Appreciate your contributions. Thank you for
Sandra too.
You know, Allison, I don't have a choice. I tried switching banks. They're all fucking corrupt. Around here, my only other option is the Wells Fargo, which we know is, oh, by the way, they're embroiled in another scandal right now. 800,000 people signed up for auto insurance on some of their auto loans that they didn't ask for. Something like that going on. Oh, yeah, CMOT, thank you for being here. Sandra Textera. We got some awesome people. They show up on a regular basis. We love our regulars. We love our newbies. We appreciate the contributions in the chat room. Thank you, Liam. Thank you, Son of Perdition, for your contribution earlier. And Ian, whenever you're ready, you take us out, pal.
All right, guys. Thanks again.
Love to everyone.
Okay, you guys, I've got one more thing to do before I end the broadcast. Here's my big ugly mug. I got to turn my camera on so I can show you what's in the bag. This is our remote viewing project. Anybody want to guess what's in here? This is not about guessing. This is remote viewing. I got something in here. Anybody want to take a stab at what might be in here? You're going to have to guess at this point. You haven't had time. Oh, look, Learn of the Jesuit Order made it late to the party, and so did Smoke and Mirrors. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do a big reveal.
I'm back.
It's nothing spectacular, but it's something, just something to guess for. Just a highlighter pen, no big deal. So nobody's even trying. I'm going to try this one more time. I'm going to put something in the bag. Who's still watching? We got 23 people still watching. And I know that a couple of hundred people are going to catch the show after it uploads. I'm going to put something in that bag. And this is a remote viewing project experiment. Leave your comments under the video after the upload. See if you can remote view what is in the bag. And with that, I'm going to say thank you to everybody. Love you. And we will see you next week. Oh, who do we have next week, Amy? We have
Charles Koss.
Charles Koss. That's right. We're going to be talking about some new theories about ancient Egypt and the ancient world as we know it. So we got Charles Koss next week, and we will see you guys on the flip side. Be good, everybody. Love you.